And aside, the first, who are the third?
They are the first.
The following by agreement, the parties, the application by witness I, camera, the testimony of public via audio link 3, members of the media and any person there up or otherwise, photo or that may read. You are excused. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Before we start, some radio files. The commissioners will recall that we started out with the file. More documents have been added now with the changes made and what needed to be moved from as now in order index. Colonel, and that goes for 2. Yesterday we were working exhibit file because more documents were added. We are now working 3, exhibit file 1 or 3. Before we this morning with the rest of the Colonel, you and I had a discussion, and that upon reflection, you thought it that clarified either certain responses provided you gave yesterday or to add responses you gave to yesterday, and you had asked for opportunity to the next topic. This is your moment.
Thank you. Commissioners, I noted yesterday, Commissioner Baloy rightfully pointed out that Bangase's statement, together with mine, had the same name, the same designation of persons on the scene, and I don't think I did answer justice upon reflection. I would just like to point out, on a crime scene, there is a scribe. So in this case, the scribe was Warren Bangase, the one was. So what would happen is that when we are doing statements or now sitting down to discuss this matter at that scribe note, so that would now have a list of who was there, the warehouse manager, her name, the relevant role players, the guys, all of them. So hence, this is one document that would now be used by all of us regards to our statements. When we look at it, we say, okay, there's this warehouse manager, that's her name. There's the border police guy, that's his name. And we saw a customs guy. So, Commissioner, I just wanted to point out that would be the reason exactly the same as Warren Bangase. Also, just flowing from that, I would like to add that there was no deception intended. It may look like that. I'm going to try and justify. I was the investigating officer that did obtain statements from Governor, and had I had an intention of misleading or doing anything underhanded, that would have been reflected in those statements I obtained from them. My statements that I obtained from these relevant members was indeed a truth, their observations on the scene.
Please go ahead.
Also, Commissioner Baloy, forget. Commissioner, if I remember rightfully so, you queried the investigation diary, Bangase, initially information cocaine. During the normal scheme, if this was an inquiry that was registered, was not registered, then it would have been a correct, sequential, chronological, diarized sequence of events, meaning from the time you obtained the information, Duma called you, this is where we met, flowed in a certain manner. It's apparent that Bangase did not make those notes prior to the operation, or possibly not even a day, or even after the actual seizure. Hence, he was now writing his investigation diary up, but working on hindsight as to what had transpired. So that would be a reason why he would start off with information received 27, though, according to all the number was only just be proceeding. So I thought I'd just...
We're still going to the diary, but before you do so, Colonel, you also brought to our attention regarding the fact that statement is overly and once again the detail that you had in your, but some of that information to you added the bundle 7 starting at page 954. Colonel, have you found your copy?
Yes, sir.
If good. And this issue you raised, particularly in response to a question the chair had when you answered then about reasons why you moved, the chair said all the reasons you set out are not recalled. And I can pull up. So we either know the chair, the many reasons for why you moved operation from Isipingo.
Chair. Chair, I noted, and understandably so once again, that did point out, I cited a whole lot of regarding my thought process with regards to moving, yet my statement point. So I'd like to point out on my initial engagement with the evidence leader, I did what I called information detail. So if with your indulgence, I would like to read out that little paragraph that deals with what you spoke.
And what's important in your favor is that this is as far back as 2021. That's the date of, I'm saying,
yes.
In your favor.
Yes,
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. Chair, if you'll bear with me, I'm not sure what page it is. I'm looking at my own copy. This files is volume.
Just tell me leaf number.
Yes, okay. When we had that heading, events, the CHC container depot.
No, tell me you are second.
Okay, the first, second, third page, paragraph 1. Yes. I considered possibly carrying these bags to a less congested area, the fire and in my opinion, the risk associated conveying these exhibits to another part of the depot was greater than the risk of conveying the Isipingo SAPS approximately 4 kilometers away from. The depot is situated approximately 11 kilometers away from Umlazi, it's a high-risk area. I considered calling a tactic team to assist to secure the area, but decided against it as I knew their response time would be longer than I would have required. I also based this decision on the basis that the unpacking and county police station would pose lesser risk. It's just that...
I think it doesn't cover...
Before we leave this document, for the record, this information note you referenced prepared for developing a statement for the committee. So it wasn't the chair was a wrong impression in your favor because as far back.
I just looked at the date at the end of that heading.
Now, confirm that this is what you prepared.
Thank you.
Be fair to be focused, although right, the ones he has just read, how far is in effect the survey, fair to that
of his actual statement.
Of his statement.
And the point you wanted to make yesterday and finalize, so what is the stand? It's just that response, those reasons were always there, reflected.
Except when he tried to, I was putting out the statement at starting. So we will catch you when we catch you, but when there are facts that are in your favor.
And I was going to comment, don't spoil them. That was in your favor, let's leave it there. before we leave these questions of clarification, please turn to and part of CJC 244, CJC 44, and in particular to draw your attention. And this goes back to the issue you wanted to clarify to Commissioner Baloyi regarding the order of in the investigation diary. It appeared that you were aware of the 27-kilogram container before you actually
Yes.
that you actually learned of that deal.
Not at the 27 kilograms. The number was relayed to the spot, was close by.
But you had made your way the whole mess.
Yes, we did.
So I draw your attention to page 6 because the statement of Warrant Officer Mbangase, and if you go to 658, there's, I'm looking for CJC 44, particularly page. You have located me.
And the page number, Commissioner?
656. And then I wanted to turn to 8, which appears to be dated 23rd November 22.
Yes, that's
and
correct.
I say it appears to.
Yes,
Now, if we go back to that 56 paragraph 2, my challenge with your explanation, Baloyi, is the same quote-unquote error appears to have crept in development November 20, because Warrant Officer Mbangase says in 1, I received information that there was a containing cocaine, which was kept at Isipingo CHC warehouse, desk container, at paragraph 3, then warrant of myself, Lieutenant Sibiya, now, together with the crime it proceeded to. So are you suggesting that Warrant made the similar mistake in his own?
Commissioner, I'm unable to comment because it's not that detailed. It just tells you that he received information. There was a container possibly containing 27 kilograms of drug, which was kept at CHC warehouse destined. We did receive that in a briefing. So he's not specific here, so I can't tell why he wrote it. I will still maintain the sequence of events as I did. Unsure.
I point you to this because I know that Commissioner Baloyi wants to, but we will have to flag that because I have questions regarding N as well as your statement.
Thank you. It's about, if you would go to the investigation diary 3.
Sorry, what number, Commissioner?
It's filed, and then CJ 248, and then the diary starts at 800 pages.
As I understand it, we are investigation diary files.
So you have that entry on the 23rd, and from what I understand, your explanation, your clarification this morning, this would have entered after testimony yesterday. There was discussion about, or in fact, your testimony was that when you left the depot, so you owned the container, it was resealed, and then you instructed, I use the word instructed because I don't remember, the depot manager that container must remain there. But also you said, I think in answer to Ms. Sillo, you said there was no details. Now, explain this. The decision that container should retain there, it should not be released to, it is a big decision. It is not recorded that there was such a, so we don't have a detention notice, we don't have an entry in the diary indicates, or that record, that the police gave instruction. Can you just explain that?
Commissioner, your investigation diary, yes, it is an indicator of inspired investigation. It's more actions to take with regards to proceed. Generally a statement, so it's not a hard and fast that would necessarily contain in your statement somewhere along the line to show it.
That answer cannot be complete or correct because there is a record of an instruction to release. There is a record later in the same day where you instructed or you cleared it for release. So that act, the opposite of the instruction to detain, is recorded. We look at your diary, we see an instruction to release. I expect that there must be an instruction to record, and I would be concerned that appear in a statement, not in a diary.
Commissioner, maybe I can say that I would, just to add on to that, encompassed in sealing.
Yes, no, I don't have a difficulty with it, where in your statement or in whose statement it appears. Right now I'm discussing contents and reliability. Maybe let me put it to you that, again, it's a concern about the reliability of this investigation diary. You do record that you gave an instruction that they can release the container, so it is of sufficient significance. That's why you record it. There is no record prior decision detaining. So your explanation that, well, the diary doesn't record a thing is not. That simple point I'm making, yet again, this is another instance where the contents of this diary have to be considered with care or caution, because it is a recordal of events, day one. But two, it doesn't accurately or fully account for what happened.
Thank you. I think we're not moving off topic, but slightly. And now we're interrogating your reasons for deciding. And one of the reasons, state or two, related to risk and space, correct? Are you familiar with the CHC depot in terms of size around?
It was my first visit.
And you complained that where the container had placed was between other and making operations. Is it safe to assume that even if the containers are placed side by side, the door of the container is facing you? So anything you take out of there will bring towards yourself. Look at these ones lined up. It's a different matter, but the manner in which they are lined up.
Yes, Commissioner.
Okay. So technically, you don't really need the space. We're trying to do that. Technically, you don't need the space to either side of container. So the fact that the containers were lined side by side cannot be a basis to decide not to did the search at the scene and rather go to ECP. The fact that they are side by side, that's the only.
Commissioner, I think if we had to view photos of the actual placement container, we'll see the situation is a lot different we see on your screen. It was a much congested environment. Even when you open the doors, if you had to lay those bags on the floor, the area was the closest we're going to get to look like was get some of those photos where it was a much less
How much more congested? these are not just alongside each other, but they are against. So how much more congested can...
Meaning, Commissioner, in front where you open the doors, there was of a container.
There was a what?
The doors of your container. I would say, now I'll be estimating, but maybe there was a 2 meter, or maybe 2 meters, just over 2 meters space in front of it, where there was, I'm not sure whether a fence or some kind of boundary type thing, where you've got an area that heisters driving went down, machinery moving throughout. It wasn't a place like this where, now that I realize it, it wasn't a designated area for an examination. Not seen, since I was not familiar with this warehouse, I just let it slide. I just let them place it down there. I was not familiar with the layout, but it was definitely much smaller, congested.
The many things we are referring to, were they on the door side?
Yes, if you open the door, Chair, that's what I'm saying. In front of it, maybe there was a meter, just over 2 meter space, a little area. That is why machinery traversing around. It's a thoroughfare area. It wasn't a designated area examining.
Thank you, Chair. But you recall when we started this engagement, the issue was the fact that there were containers on either side. The container you attacking becomes irrelevant because you can't access the container from either end, right? You can only access it from the door. So what you should be concerned about is the space in front of the container, not to the sides of it.
Yes.
Now, in response to the Chair, you mentioned
the front is the door side.
I say that front is the door side,
Okay.
the part where you open
Okay.
the purpose of our engagement at the front of it, which renders the side and the back wholly irrelevant. I say, if I'm correct in my description of a container, that renders the either sides of the container and the back irrelevant.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Can I just elaborate why I'm...
No, absolutely.
Just to show that even if we laid some in front of and laid some of our exhibits on the side to start processing, there was no space in the front or the side. I'm just trying to idea of...
In response to the Chair's question, you said where this container was placed was not...
Yes, that's correct.
And you were aware at the time that they lowered the container. That was not by that you mean a designated area for purposes of searching them. When you notice then that they are lowering the container at a place other than the designated area, why didn't you stop them and instruct them to take it to a proper designated area to allow you to carry out your...
Commissioner, it was my first visit to CHC. I assume that was the area for containers. I can't tell. It was placed there. It was high up on a stack. Maybe it was difficult to get it to the examination area. For whatever reason, it was placed there. I did not object to upon open. And especially more in light of the fact that we wanted a quantity. So for me, when they placed it, I didn't think that we're going to have an issue now of space required for processing.
So you knew it was not a designated area. You are unfamiliar with HC, and that is why you allowed them to lower it at the point that...
No.
But you already know it's not a designated area.
No,
you are the
Commissioner.
police officer. Let me just finish. You are the police officer in charge. You are the one who is instructing that container be availed to. You are aware at the time that where the point at which they avail it to is not the designated area, and you shrug your shoulders.
No.
My first time,
Commissioner,
I misunderstood.
Commissioner,
Okay,
I
please.
was not aware that this was, or it was not wasn't even sure that it's a sun.
Colonel, you are the one who introduced the notion of this. You told the commissioners that
Yes.
where they lowered that container was not their designated area. So you can't now say that you were not sure whether they have one to speak of.
It's only when I heard of it.
Okay. Now, you remember Ms. Pile, who's the depot manager. You engaged her. You obtained the relevant documentation from her. She was present when you broke the seal. Why, when you realized the quantity then, did you not instruct her, close the container, instruct her to take it? That would allow you.
Commissioner, I'll maintain by those that I did all of those thoughts that in terms of...
Okay. Now, I'll accept those risks. You'll accept that the risks that you now enumerate apply to all searches of container at the CHC depot. They would apply to the distance to Umlazi stays the same, right? The area stays the same. Are you able to explain why it is just over a month, 999 kilograms could safely and properly be processed at the very scene that you say was highly risky because it's closer to Umlazi? Are you able to come up with a logic?
900.
Kilograms, yes, on the 30th of July 2021. You don't know of that seizure?
Which area?
It was at the CHC depot. It's very concerning, Colonel, because we are going to deal with this. Considering the position you hold now as we speak, we are going to deal with that seizure, and I'm very concerned that you say you've never heard of it. You are the head of currently the unit commander of Durban COCIU, which comprises of National Priority Violent Crime Section, SANEB, and you don't know about that seizure.
Commissioner, the 999, as far as I was not at the CHC.
Where was it?
It was at some other shipyard, because I did go to the scene, as far as at CHC.
Okay, I think I get your point. So you say I'm making the mistake in thinking that it was the same place.
I'm not saying that I can't.
No, I'm happy to take the mistake and be... So if I misunderstood somebody's evidence, I'll accept that. But your point is that that particular seizure did not take place at CHC.
That I can.
I'll cross-check on that. And
Before you move further away, I just want to...
Indeed.
You said you accept the risk. I just want to disabuse your mind, Colonel,
Yes.
of any possible misunderstanding. I hope Ms. Sildo did not mean that the reasons that she says accepts are. That's something.
Yes.
So she accepts that subjectively those were your reasons, but not necessarily
that,
that
yes.
are. I'm not saying they're not.
Thank you, Chair, for the precision. I was loose in my words, and by accept I am not going to challenge you on the reasons that I put forward. But I too am not drawing your conclusion that those are the Chair was. So, Chair, you understand my position. You then move, you say, to Isipingo. I understand that there at the harbour there is a station called Maiden Wharf. Why didn't you move to?
Maiden Wharf has their own experts to see.
As with every...
Yes,
So,
yes.
as with Isipingo as well.
Yes. If I may expand on, I know I'm at the ground level calling station phoning the various groups for assistance. As much as witnesses will come here and say that I tried the nearest state and all of that, I highlighted with my Mshlali case difficulty in regards to securing storage. And if I had to elaborate on that, because these stations know that the lab takes a long while to house those exhibits, destroy it, analyze it, but no station wants to give away the SAP-13 space, let you use the entire or half of the exhibits. Remember, more especially stations like Maiden Wharf, which is close to our harbour, they are the stations that receive bulk exhibits that are seized at that. So it could be that they did have storage place at that time, but the reason I did not engage with them was I know that they are going to need that storage place, then they're going to call me away my exhibit. That was my reluctance, that reason for my real engaging. Station past it has taught me certain stations will assist, others won't, others have their own SAP-13.
Picture you are painting is disturbing. It's like everybody owns a police station, and how do you work? You come across, or at least to me, as suggesting that you have to beg for space when you have done your job and you need secure space. You literally have to beg because somebody is going to reject your request. So in the end, you end up not even making the request.
Yes.
Is that how you operate?
Yes, can I elaborate on that, Commissioner?
Please do.
It may not be a picture to paint. If I had to tell the Commission, we've had instances. I'll give you an example. It was a year or just over a year back. DPR group seized 8 tons of copper in the Malvern precinct. Firstly, there's no space to keep 8 stakeholders, meaning Transnet, Eskom, Prasa, don't want to safeguard. We're stuck with 8 tons of. The station cannot house it in Malvern Station. I personally had to acquire a shipping container, moved at our own logistical, get a container, call in favors, ask the station to house the said container there, lock up the exhibit in this container at Malvern Station. Within a year, every bit at 8 was stolen. There's various cases opened by the police station themselves for petty, but 8 tons. That's one. There was another incident at Isipingo Station, I think it was in P4. The infrastructure task team had seized around 5 tons. Isipingo could not house it. They then acquired a shipping container, placed it in the station premises in order to house all of those. So these are the challenges that are facing. It's easy for management sometimes to come here and say, we should have tried this station, that station is placed, this station has a big safe. In reality, these are the challenges we face. And I'm going to go on further to state, when you seize these type of exhibits, sometimes you're at a crime scene for a day or two. To remove 8 tons of copper, the police is not logistic, even with large amounts of drugs. So you're having now to request specialized units like TRT, NIU, POP to come and guard those exhibits. They're okay with guarding it for maybe a night or two, maybe 4 days max. But they've got their own duties to attend to. Now you've got pressure from their commanders calling you to say we need to withdraw our members. And I'm calling every district commissioner, every station commander trying to get assistance in this thing. So I just wanted to highlight the challenges that we face. Hence, sometimes the decisions we take may not be viewed in a favorable light here, but because of our experience, the challenges we...
That can never be justification for you not even asking where the storage space was. You never ever, all of the things you say, justification for not, they cannot. You simply made an assumption that there was no storage. You assumed that there was no, am I correct? You assumed.
No,
You assumed because you never asked. It's as simple as all that. Did you ask?
Chair,
Did you ask?
No.
So you assumed.
I knew it would jump.
You assumed that they could not store this contain. Is that correct? Why did you make such an assumption on so serious a matter?
Chair, when I escalated it years later...
Why did you escalated it, cause in paragraph 30, you already took this very strange view that you had, open quote, exhausted all avenues, close quote, for storage. Yeah. And yet you didn't. You simply made an assumption. Is it factually correct that you had exhausted all avenues? Factually correct. So why did you say it to your superiors? Okay. And why do you continue to say it in your affidavit? Chair, why did you say that?
Chair, the reason I say it, because of the closest stations, Brighton.
I'll tell them to you. They were Durban Central, Brighton Beach, Maiden Wharf. And how far is Mbilo? There was also Mbilo. How far is that?
Mbilo is not.
Give us kilometers.
Yes,
we
20,
know the furthest,
20,
or the farthest was, we know the farthest was 24, and then there was 20, and there was lesser. That's about the 3 we spoke about yesterday. So Mbilo, would you say, is within the 24 downwards? So we're basically talking 4, and in respect of all 4, you simply made an assumption, and you've incorrectly stated as a fact that you had exhausted all avenues. How could you say you had exhausted avenues when in fact you simply made an assumption?
Chair, if I may just explain, it wasn't that was seizing, it was the reception. But those exhibits as well were stored in unused cell, a single layer cell, nearly 1,000 kilogram cocaine in a single cell, and the station could only acquire. That is why those measures were taken, and some of the lab were sent a short while. So I'm saying,
for argument's sake, let's leave out Mbilo and look at Durban Central, Brighton, Maiden Wharf. For all you knew at the time, they could well have had space.
Chair, I knew Durban Central.
You did not know for a fact that they did not.
I knew they were complaining.
No, I'm not talking about complaining. You did not know for a fact that they did not have, and yet you say you had exhausted all avenues. So it was incorrect to say you had exhausted all avenues. And you see, the thing is, in response to Mr. Sidolo, you go so far as to suggest that all, in fact, I think you said so, that basically all police stations have their problems, individual problems about storage. Do you want me to tell you what's very strange with that statement? Look at what you say, the very paragraph 30 I've referred to. You say that Brigadier Nyuswa should then secure a storage location for the drugs. He would have had to secure that storage space from somewhere. And what did you expect that somewhere to? A police station also. A police station also. So how could you give this response that you gave to Ms. Silo then? Is a response that suggests that, there are difficulties with all police stations. He could not have gotten the space from outer space. No, so what point were you making then?
Okay, Chair, at my level as a colonel and at that stage as lieutenant, there's only so much that I can do to escalate. Obviously, any station commander or district commissioner won't hold my opinion that request, won't take it as seriously as he would take it, let's say, my provincial commander.
But you would only get to that if you have seriously done the groundwork, or rather worked the groundwork that needed to be, or done the groundwork that needed to be done. You only reached that stage after all that. Here you did not even do that groundwork. You worked on an assumption. You did not inquire whether space was available, at least at these 3 police stations. I will not mention. You did not even do that groundwork. So it does not even rise to the level of you having rely on a senior who can better pull strings than you can ever hope to. It does not get to that level.
And I think I'm going to say this honestly as well. Maybe I wanted my brigadier to bear that where he's from that said station complaining.
So you lied to him. You said you had exhausted all avenues.
You lied.
You lied because you've accepted that you had not. You had not exhausted all avenues.
I had a decision.
You lied when you said to him you had exhausted all avenues. Was it true that you had?
In my mind.
Was it true, factually, that you had exhausted all avenues? You've already said you had not. You've already said you had not, correct? So you lied to him when you said you had it. Do you agree? It's as simple as all that.
I'll have to.
You agree?
I think it's a strong word to say.
Is it true? Is it true? Is it true? Was it true when you said to him, I have exhausted all avenues? Okay, let's get off line. Let's step off line. Was it true? Was it factually correct? Factually, no. Is that not a lie? Is that not a lie then?
It sounds, when you say it like it sounds a little harsher than...
Thank you.
Yes,
Ms. Silla, still on this, sorry. That decision, and one would expect a record of, but it's not in the diary. Look at it if you want. He doesn't account how that or why. He merely says open. That is, and it seems to me, and maybe let me explanation you are for moving from HC seems to be because it's not recorded. Even if this diary was fair, it seems to me and accept it's quite a big move from scene in the second, and that you have only your word, and yet it's a person that you.
I agree with Commissioner. I can't.
But you see how it does lead, or it can lead impression. This is an afterthought, otherwise recorded decision.
Thank you. On that score, Colonel, you recall yesterday during engagement by Commissioner Baloyi when she referenced the national instruction. Remember that? And I understood your answer, or a comment you made during the course of your answer, to be that you are all bound by national instruction. That's a prescription. Let's just turn to it on this particular score about SAP 13, the King exhibits, and that would be your CJC 30, file 1, exhibit file 1. That's a national instruction 8 of 2017. Have you located it? Exhibit 230.
Yes, Commissioner.
You have seen that document before?
Yes, I have.
It's the National Instruction 8 of 2017, Property and Exhibit Management.
Yes, Commissioner.
Is it fair to assume that at least the district or heads of various police stations have seen the document and are familiar with it? I'll take that to the most basic level of knowledge and understanding by those. Would it be fair to attribute that understanding that they know this document?
Yes, Commissioner.
Okay. Now, I'd like to refer you to page 25 specifically in that file. It's still part of that. And or in paragraph 7.
Yes.
Are you there? And I'm interested in sub 4 of that paragraph 7. And it reads, I quote, all property and exhibits seized must be entered in the SAP 13 register of the relevant police station where the crime was committed or where the property was found. Then it continues, and then transferred to the relevant unit and entered in the SAPS 13 of the relevant unit. Now, when I look at the start of that, it's prescribed that all seizures must be registered in the SAPS 13 of the relevant station where the crime was committed. I interpret that to mean they have the station commanders and everybody has got no discretion on this. This prescript compels them. You register. Unlike what you suggest, which you say they refused to take, you said they were our seizures. Who's the our? Are you not part of the SAPS? Are you not people on whom this prescription? So they can tell you in the face of this prescription that they will not take your seizures. Is that what you want this?
If I may give the example, demanded those the following day, could not, although the House could lab Durban Central then, but one would have thought that Isipingo being the relevant station compelled now to some policing.
Yes. You know that doesn't help you, right? Because Isipingo took those drugs, it entered them into the SAP, it kept them overnight. and then it required that they be removed. So Isipingo actually complied with that.
Yes, but in our case,
Say now, in which case?
on the 22nd,
Because you booked it out. Because Mbangase booked it in and out.
maintain warrant officer Perumal.
No, well, I think yesterday you sort of gave a more nuanced answer. You said, I may have used a prior discussion about whether they have story. I accept that I don't have discussing with him. So yesterday you revisit your much firmer earlier statement, where in your earlier statement you had said Perumal refused to accept. And yesterday in your explanation, you softened your position and said, I know that another discussion where you this time have to accept. So now you're going back, elevated to there was a Perumal. Which one?
Commissioner Mbuyiseli, what I know, the reason I alluded to, or initially I said I was opposed, and I'm not sure if I asked him explicitly, but I did clarify that my members on the scene had reminded Perumal explicitly to store those exhibits. And I cited it not being that clear in my head. It's possibly because of previous year's incident that we had with Isipingo SPS regarding.
But that's another thing that's not in the diary. It's not in his diary. It doesn't say that Perumal was asked and he refused. It appears later on in statements, yet again, it's a later justification. But the entry in the diary doesn't record it. And that accords with Perumal's denial. In fact, it lends credence to Perumal's denial that there was ever such a discussion.
I hear you, I accept that, I still may.
Can I just develop this? On
Yes,
this 7.4, that compelled you to go to Maiden Wharf and enter in the do exactly what you did at SAP, which is you have to enter them in the SAP 13 of the nearest police station where the crime was committed, and then you could have booked it out. It's not about storage this year. Why did you not do that? Even with your assumption that they will say they don't have space, why did you not comply with 17.4, which reads, all, and I'll read it again, property and must be entered in the SAP 13 of the relevant police station where the crime was committed or where the property was, and then transferred to the relevant unit and entered in the SAP 13 of that relevant unit. The first part says you should have entered these things in the SAP 30 of Maiden Wharf, being the nearest police, no?
This CHC fell with policing, so they are the...
It's not the nearest.
No, the relevant, it doesn't necessarily nearest. Police stations fall with...
I accept that.
If I may develop that, you recall we looked at the SOP, the ORS SOP yesterday, which identified CHC depot to be a licensed depot around the harbour, I won't say in the harbour, but that falls within the area of ORS Durban harbour. So it's in that area. And it's in the area because it means that the harbour have got access to that depot as any part of the harbour. And if let's then turn and to test your answer, let's look at CJC 258. And that is the statement, I might as well say, of Captain Stefan Albert Mulman.
CJC?
CJC 258, page 768. Have you located it, Colonel?
Yes, Commissioner.
This is the statement of Captain Stefan Albert Mulman. Do you know him?
Yes, I'm Commissioner.
If we go to paragraph 3, he states, from July 2014 to December 2024, I was the exhibit clerk serving in the SAPS 13 bedroom at SAPS Maiden. And it says, my duties entail the receiving, safeguarding, and releasing of exhibits at the SAPS Maiden Wharf. All items seized at crime scenes or found, and here's the emphasis, within the Durban Harbour Police area must be handed in as exhibits at the Maiden Wharf. So in his understanding, where Durban Harbour Police have jurisdiction, everything seized there must go to that. That's it. You agree that's what he says?
That's what he says.
Okay. And now you and I have agreed that in terms of SOP, the CHC depot falls under the Durban Harbour, falls within the Durban Harbour Police area. We agreed that here. We just confirmed this morning. You seem like you want to take issue with what Captain Mulman says. What is?
Yes, Commissioner, I still maintain that the Maiden Wharf would not ordinarily receive, it's not the norm. He speaks about sees his policing in any such case we have on where we've now transferred from identified depots. It hasn't.
I have a difficulty with your answer because you seem to ignore something I thought we had established. You have accepted that the CHC depot is within the harbour area under in whose jurisdiction or in whose area the Durban Harbour Police. We have accepted that. The SOP tells us that, in fact. I'm not making it up, right? So if that is in the area, in the Durban Harbour Police area, as per the SOP, right, yes, then he's got to be right. It can't be the Isipingo. You seem to want to take the CHC depot out of the harbour area, locate it physically somewhere so that it falls under Isipingo. And I struggle with that notion. So maybe if you try again, because I'm not getting it.
Commissioners, I've never known of one case of us or any other station where these depots, designated depots, are situated. I have not known of any case of being sent to Maiden because they fall under policing. Police jurisdictions are your precinct of where your station is based. You are then responsible for exhibits from that area. So although there can be this SOP or any other document, the station caters to their area. When he talks here, Warrant Officer Mulman, he says must be handed in as exhibits at the Maiden Wharf Police Station. This also includes seized or found by other SAPS units, and he goes on. But he doesn't allude, in my opinion, maybe I'm reading it incorrectly, to say that even items or exhibits seized in Isipingo or Mbilo will come to them and they will accept it. To me, it's not. I've not seen any case where such a...
There have been witnesses here, and they were engaged extensively by the commissioner about available police stations in and around the CHC. You had that engagement with the chair this morning. We counted Maiden Wharf. We counted, before we get to Isipingo, we counted Durban Central, correct? Yes. On your reasoning, then they must not come into play because we are not in their jurisdiction. They were discussed because they were available facility within the general area before we go to Port Shepstone. Why then do they come into consideration if they're not available? I don't understand any.
Like I'm saying, Commissioner, I can't give you an answer, but I know that we have never ever stored at Isipingo, Maiden Wharf, below station. This statement, from what I'm reading, it doesn't.
Then I'll go back to your paragraph 30, your statement now, your statement. And once again is the engagement you had with the chair. And your statement to the commission, you say, I then called Brigadier Nyuswa and told them that I had exhausted all avenues and that he should secure a storage location for the drugs. What all avenues could potentially have exhausted if you were bound to go to only one place?
Been reprimanded for it, Commissioner.
No, that was a different issue. I'm raising an issue now. When you say you exhausted all avenues, why did you even try to exhaust when you know you can't go there? When you know there are no avenues to exhaust in the very first
I
place?
think what I meant by that is that I acknowledged that those stations that General Flynn now had mentioned
Yes.
were already carrying for.
So those were the avenues you considered perhaps potentially available to you. You had exhausted them in a sense that, as the chair pointed out, implies that you either inquired and confirmed that they don't have space, or you know that they did not have space.
I did not think. I drew an assumption.
Okay, you drew an assumption. Now, staying with Maiden Wharf, look at the others. Still on the same document, if you go over paragraph 4, I want us to start at 769. We're still with Captain Moolman. Now, paragraph 4 records 6 seizures that were stored at SAPS Maiden Wharf from 8th May 2020, 0508, that's the 6th on 6/9, until the 2nd of December 2024, 24/12. You see that? Do you see where I'm reading?
I can't see the what line.
It's at page 768, as I say. They are listed 1 to 6, with 1 being the latest and 6 being the earliest. Do you see that? Now let's look at the earliest, which is at your page 769, that item 6. It's 32 kilograms of cocaine on the 8th of May 20. See that? The next is item 5, which is the 999 kg cocaine on 30th July 20. You see that? Unless I am misreading this, it would appear that between that seizure of 30th July 21 and May 2020, all he had was 32 kg of cocaine. So your seizure occurred before the 30th July. So your assumption was wholly wrong, because after 6 weeks after your seizure, you could accommodate 990. Your assumption was wholly wrong. Now, please explain to the commissioners on what basis you even.
I'm going to try and explain it in this fashion. If you look at this 999 kilos that was seized, these drugs were kept at the station for a period of 3 months before they were taken to the lab on the 12th of. It was taken to the lab on the 12th, 2021. So, in effect, this 999 kilos would have still been at Maiden Wharf in their safe, and together with our 541 kilos, it would now mean that there's going to be 1.5 tons of our drug or of drugs at Maiden.
Is there a challenge? Is there a problem?
I'm not sure of their capacity, but my point being, Commissioner, was that these drugs lay at Maiden Wharf for 3 months, and it was only subsequent or after the theft of the drugs in Port Shepstone that now the lab saw fit to start accepting. It's only on the 12th of November 2021 that these exhibits, 999 kilograms of cocaine, together with those exhibits that were initially at Isipingo and then Durban Central, it was only at that stage now that this 999 was fetched on the 12th of November, together the 547 kilograms at that stage had been taken. So my point being that the SAP 13 safes clogged up, so we were going to have 999 kilograms of cocaine there with another 500 kilograms, so that's 1.5. I'm not sure of the storage capacity at Maiden Wharf, but that's a practical reason.
May I point something? And I apologize for it. You have the order wrong. You would have taken up that space that the 900 subsequently took after 6 weeks.
Yes.
So your space was assured, surely.
Okay.
And whoever, I think it was Colonel Sander who was responsible for the July 21 burst. That would have been his problem, not yours. Yours would have been resolved by then. So why do you worry about a burst still to happen?
I can accept that, but I still maintain, Commissioner, that the station has to cater for their own area policing, and more especially Maiden is one of the stations that regularly receives large amounts.
Just where's the logic? Where is the logic? Because 2 questions before, you were debating on the basis of the cumulative of the 540. Now you are told that, but you would have gotten space before the 9.
Yes.
Now I don't understand.
Okay, Commissioner, yes, I got it. But
I'm trying to
yes.
understand the logic of what you said just now.
Yes.
Do you accept this completely?
Okay, I got it mixed up in terms of first, Chair.
But that was clarified.
Yes,
You still
yes.
clarified it. You.
Okay, but-
and now you started giving some other the logic which I simply.
My point in essence, Chair, is that exhibits are continuously being entered at certain stations. Now, in the event my 500 kilos was accepted at
If the
Maiden Wharf,
999, let's not even use if. because they did accept the 999. So I can't see why they could not have accepted your 541. Do you accept that?
Yes, I accept.
In all probability, they would have accepted your 541. So what issue are we debating now?
Okay, can I expand on that?
Please,
and I
yes.
hope I'm going to annoy you, Chair, with this.
No,
but-
I'm not in the list.
Okay.
No.
I'm saying, Chair, this is how it works. If my 500 kilogram maiden wharf, and like I say, I'm not sure of the exact, they're safe, and now they receive 900. Most stations don't have capacity. over
That's
a ton.
Colonel Sanders' problem. When he comes with the 999,
yes.
you already have your space.
Yes, so I'm saying, what critical challenge, Chair? You would get a call from that station to say, we've got our own exits now, there's 900 to store, and they've got my 500. It hasn't happened.
But that has nothing to do with what we are debating, which is why at the initial stage you did not go to Maiden Wharf. What happens down the line when there's 999 has nothing to do with why you were not the first at Maiden Wharf. Do you get my point? So you basically have no answer, Mr. Laws. Do you accept that? It's as simple as all that. Do you accept that?
I accept it, but can I give a practical example?
Yes, okay, all right. No, go ahead and explain.
You know, back to my sim, the one in Mshlali. Similarly, if we sat here today and those that got stolen, I would have been asked or say it got stolen for that. One would have argued, why did it?
That's a different issue altogether. That is a different issue altogether. What we are talking about now is the availability of storage space within Durban. That's what we are doing.
Chair,
And you accepted when I engaged you earlier that you proceeded on the basis of assumption. Now Ms. Silo is engaging you specifically about Maiden Wharf and is demonstrating to you that what you've been telling us lacks substance because someone who came, a colleague of yours, who came a month later was able to get space for an even larger quantity of suspected cocaine. So this is about your decision at the initial stage. It has nothing, the possibility of theft down the line. And in any event, that could not have been your concern at the stage of where must this cocaine, suspected cocaine be. You may comment if you want.
just like I say, maybe I'm laboring the point, but my point in mentioning Mshlali, Chair, was that stations did have to be closer. They did have the space
Exactly.
to store. They did have the case where the stations had their safes. Why they did fail?
When were you not? When is it that they did not accommodate?
We did this September, and the reasons they cited was not that they wouldn't even give.
What's that got to do with June 20? What's that got to do?
Chair, to show that I passed it and showed me that
No,
stations
surely you could not base your something that you accepted earlier when I engaged you that you proceeded on you took your purely on the basis of assumption. You've accepted, and I think move on unless you again want to give some other explanation. I'm not gagging. If you want to give some other explanation, you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Colonel, I want to say, looking at item 5, before July or before that shows there was space to 500. It's as
You put
simple
it
as
like that, Commissioner. Yes.
Forget about September, October. Just looking at that, it's as simple.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Kumalo. Colonel, staying with your statement, and as you've touched on this slightly, I would like you to have regard to your paragraph 29, your statement, page 5.
JC.
No, your own statement,
My
your
own
statement to the Commission. Do you have it?
Yes.
Page 5, paragraph 29. You state in that paragraph, I knew that police stations that normally assisted with storage, viz. Durban SAP and Brighton SAP, still had exhibits from our drugs conducted in February 2020 and September 2020, respectively. I'll stop there. Now let's talk about the September 2020. Is that the what was seized there and what was
The exact quantity I can't recall offhand.
estimate?
but
In this case,
yes,
we
we're
keep saying
looking at
540
tons.
kg.
We're looking at a ton because
And then the February 2020 seizure, what was
THC was 500.
of drugs? Do you know where these drugs are? Or at the time you were confronted with the 541, did you know where those drugs were? Did
Yes,
you know they were still at those police respective? And it's on that basis that you say you then concluded, because the one was already holding a ton of chemical and the other was holding 547 kilograms of mandrax, concluded that they are not viable. I would like you to go to Exhibit 2. And to go to CJC 242, Chair, page 504.
Got it.
Have you located it?
Yes.
Do you know what that
You
document?
can see the heading.
Yes, and this is from the period 2020 to date, and whatever. Do you know that
I
document?
haven't seen it per se.
So you wouldn't know who the
but sorry,
author is?
just one
Sorry.
second. Yeah, but the front page, but this would be a presentation. Yes, it is something that I have.
You prepared this document?
Yes.
Okay. Now,
Oh, no, sorry, prepared. I see it's a meet and mislead. There's some other slides, but the photos in the front of Durban Harbour and all compiled.
now I'm talking about this one.
I can't recall.
I'll confirm that your seizure is in this document as one of the major cocaines, so it is dealt with. That would have been from your control.
Remember, these stats are really true by or any. It's out there. I can't say I was hands-on
No,
with this.
I can live with it. Now, you remember I said this, the title, it's Major Heroin and Seizures from 2020 to date, and that it probably from March 2020. The basis for that, and the basis for that, you will find at page 570, which is a table of all these seizures over the relevant. And I have determined that the last entry at 572 is dated 4 October. To see that
Yes,
at page 572. And so you don't have any challenge with my interpretation of what's stated in this document, that is for a period from March 20, October 2025. All right. Now let's go to page 570. Perhaps before we go to 570, the logical place to start would be page 514. Okay, now that's your seizure. So we know that now then 570 of all these easier to work off. If you are there, I take it when this document tells me that about major heroin and cocaine seizure, particular date, that is your office where you are based, and now you are a senior member. So your office tells us then at 570 that between March 2020 up until item number 6, those are the seizures that had been made. And then I do a very rudimentary arithmetic exercise, and I say what this document tells me is that from 2020, what was retained in the various regarding these major seizures. My calculation, I must say, I exclude the 18,300, I have no idea, and item 2, and I also 4, is 200, leave them in, but I dare say we don't have 100 kilogram by the time you have your,
yes.
And this I'm informed of by your, so it cannot be that there was a problem, that's first. And secondly, please in this document find for me your seizures of February 2020, which you say is the 500 grams of Mandrax, and your September 2020 reference there, which you said was a ton. Please find it in this section.
Yes, Commissioner, it's serial number 4 on page 5.
Yes.
We've got, it is misleading, right? Because it says heroin plus heroin. Confirm it was heroin capsules, Mandrax precursors. There's a whole lot more.
No, it can't be. So now you are telling an entire formal presentation by DPCI is misleading.
I'm saying that.
And on what do you base it? Please give us the facts to show that this is, and you have the right information.
This looks like it may have been compiled by a colleague at my office without saying it categorically. And I'll also point out another incorrect to yourself.
No, I'm not a question.
This,
You're elevating.
The serial number 7, Maiden Wharf, 900. That's the same 999, I think mistaken. There's no 900. Commander of the familiar with, I thought.
No, it's Maiden Wharf.
You said it was CHC.
See, Depot. We know it was.
But it was not.
And I did, I may be wrong.
I'm just pointing it.
It's about tea time now. If you maintain this document, Chair is going
I'm
to
just
give
saying
us.
point 4. I'm saying point 4.
Okay, you confine yourself to point 4.
Yes.
Then let's find the September 2020 seizure being a ton. That would.
Yes, that's the
I would
same one I'm
expect it to
speaking
be-
for.
Okay, then let's find the other one, the 500. I was struggling to find both, and you can't go beyond item 6 because item is your seizure.
I don't see the 547.
So how in fact, you could not get storage for the 501 of cocaine because of a supposed 547 kilogram Mandrax seizure who had taken up storage. How do you dissuade them? If your own office document.
Once again, Commissioner, I'm saying that I bear no knowledge. It's evident that somebody, I've got it on my memory stick. I've done a presentation, Sunday presented in Cape Town. It's somewhat similar, but I see it's chopped and changed. I started with this intro of picture of Durban Harbour and looking at this pictures, the writing, the grammar. I can suspect, I think I know where this came from. This was not sanctioned. This is not by myself.
All right, let's, just to be sure, as I said, we're approaching tea already. Perhaps it might be an opportune moment. You say you have it, I think,
Yes.
We'll take this time to see if we locate your document.
I don't know what you prove, Commissioner, so I'm not sure.
I'm looking to prove that there was capacity in and around Durban for 500 heroin. You didn't have to, that's what I'm trying to.
I'm not disputing they would have been.
So you did not talk to Brigadier News to find alternative storage because you had exhausted and there was no storage. That is not the case. There was storage in and around there. You chose to go out to Port Shepstone on the advice of.
It's not a fair sum. I chose the fair sum informed Newswa that I.
Okay. So you chose not to store this seizure anywhere in and around there. You chose that.
If the dear Newswa had made a call to some senior.
No. Mine is slightly. You chose that this seizure will not be stored in and around there. You must have. Chair.
Let's adjourn in 5 to 12.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's necessary I place on record. You will see on the face of that document it's got marking S2, Annexure S2. That document was provided to the Commission by General Sinona. It's Annexure S2, General Sinona's January statement for the record. Colonel, we discussed that this document that you take issue with was provided to the Commission by your General Sinona.
Yes,
You and I have spent the tea break trying to determine the extent of inaccuracies that you claim are contained in this document and that you have another. We have had sight of that presentation, we have considered it, and the exercise we are undertaking now is to see the extent to which the two documents, most importantly to see whether the presentation that the Colonel has provided will alter the position as reflected in the table from page 57 to demonstrate from his presentation that there was no space. My understanding of that presentation, and Colonel, I'll need your guidance here, is that because of its nature and its purpose, when the Colonel compiled it, it will not help us cross that line. Because his presentation, as I understand it, Colonel, can correct me where I'm wrong, was to a particular audience in Cape Town and highlighted only container seizures. So it's a very limited presentation with the result that this Umhlali 1-ton seizure of the chemicals is not in that presentation. And he insists it was made, but it is not. So one thing we have been able to determine is the table as it stands. The least we can do is of that English. That's how far we've done on that exercise.
Ms. Hilo, I just wanted to say that unless the Colonel comes something else, whether now or at stage, I think the point has been from the fact that the 999 could be up. It can never be
I agree.
in June when they got here.
I agree. I just thought, in all fairness to him, because he objected to the accuracy of the, and that's the point at which we adjourned.
But as you just explained now, even that
It doesn't
goes
get us
to the
over
very
the line,
same,
yeah.
very same.
In fact, even his presentation doesn't overturn the state capacity reflected in
June.
Captain Mulman's statement regarding that maiden. Colonel, does that cover a situation? As the chair says, whatever there is available whatever you have, and avail to do so. We are already conducting the exercise I described. We will see where it lands for. But I think the chair is broader. After you leave, that may help address the question of whether or not a storage on Durban. You will suggest to the chair a supplementary statement. Would that be? Chair, your mic, sorry.
Oh, it was on throughout, and I switched it off just before speaking. I wanted to say, Colonel, in response to the invitation, maybe that sitting here, I have my doubts as to how I would ever be able to answer the question whether, as of June 20, there was in fact space. Hence, 999 kg could be stored. We are not even talking about the other police. We are not even talking about. I'm saying yes. Still made the invitation, but I'm thinking you should think carefully before taking up. Thank you.
No, I hear what you're saying, Chair. The only issue I had with the presentation was before the commission. It wasn't.
I get that.
Yes.
I get
So,
that.
and
I
hear
guess
your
my point.
Yes.
I guess my point is more that does any of that us anyway?
No, and I get your point, Chair. There's no way I'm going to show you maiden WAP was not nominated.
Thank you.
So concede.
Thank you, Chair.
Sitting
Yes.
here today, I'm prepared to accept that your assumption was wrong. And yes, if you say yes, I will leave it there. If you say no, I will leave it there. I won't ask you.
You made my decision easier. Yes, I do agree. You are saying I made an assumption based on my past experience, not.
Thank you, Commissioner. Colonel, we are somewhere between CHC Depot and Isipingo. Let's see. Captain Duma testified, and I think in one of yes,
You have a lot of.
I may say yes, and only have you reach out for it again. You can always. Thank you. Colonel, I was saying Captain Duma testified in one of many statements that made the inquiry and subsequent investigation. You indicated that much as you had received a call from Captain Duma on the 22nd, 21, you actually had a conversation prior thereto, but it was not a specific engagement you had on the 22nd. So he had warned you, or at least shared with intelligence, that there may be a shipment coming in with this cargo. Confirm that. So by the time he called you on the 22nd of June, 2021, you had been expecting confirmation, if there was one, we had, of that shipment, and that would trigger the need for you to go investigate. I would expect, unless I'm expecting, that when you got the call on the 22nd, because you had been anticipating, you'd at least have prepared some basic, which is evidence bags, gloves, and the like, in anticipation of that call when it eventually comes, so that is that a fair expectation?
Commissioner, if I may put it this way, we always support. It's not just specific, but I must add that information was not time specific, container specific. It was just information. And be a container come with how much.
And understanding that you're on leave and therefore at home, and I take it that you wouldn't have spare equipment at home, you might, but we know that on the day you called Brigadier Nyuswa, you called Warrant Officer Mbangase and asked him, inform Brigadier Nyuswa that you are booking back in, you recall. Why didn't you do it yourself?
I can't, maybe I thought the Brigadier was Mbangase personally, and I've never been turned down.
And you knew that they would meet and talk, because they're
And he said he's going to brief.
Yes.
I understand. I subsequently.
So at the time you assumed, is it fair to assume at the office, or would at home or a coffee shop?
No, at the office.
At the office. Why didn't you ask then, because by then you had received Captain call, why didn't you ask Warrant Officer Mbangase to bring evidence back, whatever may lay his hands on?
Commissioner, that's somebody Mbangase would have not been informing. So I did not see he was a son.
And when you met, you didn't ask him where they. Now, you said an officer of his level to know, expect him to know. But this is the same officer you advised to enter the exhibits in the Port Shepstone SAP 13. Why does he require
exhibit bags? Then I thought I'd rather unsaid. Hence my.
So it was his failure the previous day to bring evidence bags that led you to the conclusion that perhaps you placed too much trust in him about his level of knowledge, experience.
Not completely, but I'm saying I tried to make sure that despite our errors initially forward.
Now, when you open the container, you realize the actual quantity face value. You had a number of bags, big bags. And that quantity in large part contributed to Isipingo, correct? Why didn't you inquire from Maiden WAF and ask them to give you, as a matter of urgency, evidence bags, at least very large evidence bags to bag these very bags before you even open?
Policing. I didn't ask my initial thing.
So you got to Isipingo then and you requested for the bag, and you maintain that the warrant officer, you insist that you requested storage space and he denied you storage.
Yes, I do.
You are aware, we don't have to go there, that he's filed 2 statements where he categorically denies that you ever had any conversation about storage space. and that all you ever wanted was a 13 book, it's called, to make the entry regarding this seizure. So what the commissioners have, your version, they'll see is more. That's all they can.
May I just add, once again, I'll talk to integrity. Previously, like I did, if he was somebody who had some integrity, interested, when he was approached by and asked about my, one would have at least mentioned the incident regards to what was stored. If he said at that stage it was, that's why we didn't store it. Fine, he remains silent. Now a version is a stage gladly accept, more especially drugs. And also just to add on, even Warrant Officer Sander confirms, aside from, but besides that, in Warrant Officer Sanders, he does make Warrant Officer indicated to guard.
That's not the reason why your consignment is not stored, so it's irrelevant. Guarding, according to that's your version.
Would you like to make a... And we know that, and you testify, we didn't call LCRC to the CHC scene, unquote, nor the Isipingo scene. And you do know that in terms of the document called to call on the search, seizure, handling processes and disposition of illicit drugs that you must call them to.
Yes, I am.
And you chose nonetheless not to call them?
Yes, I did.
And I think the reason you gave for that decision was that they'll take fingerprints and all you ever get are of the scene. Is that something that with you only or generally is an LCRC fingerprints results?
Like I indicated, every single.
Now, sorry, when you said the whether is the how you explain failure to call the LCRC, the suggestion is there is no point inquiring present seizures of this name. Therefore, that requirement must be done away with, because then it will avoid you why you every
to see where you panels, floor, wherever a some surface or DNA that can now be objectively linked to that drugs. And in those cases, I would say, although we haven't had luck.
Well, somebody handled the packet. So what you've just said undermines your explanation or your education. Why we should make the fact and call this. Well, anyway, it can be either suggest there's no point of seizure. There's no point. That's a logic. It seems the logic. There's no point to away with. Or, well, there is a point. There's always some fingerprints that are very useful. Those good, and therefore it is a big when you do it, you contaminate those or to vent, deny them completely any matter or possible. You understand?
Yes, in theory, you've got in theory show where they handle it. That's the reason.
Yeah, but what can never be a sin. You're just for them not to be a citizen. We never. It's not a sense. Even if it's a small child, they may pick. You accept that?
Thank you. And when you say you only get back, you never get results DNA and fingerprints. What you mean that you don't get results regarding positive? They don't send you back the fingerprints they took. There's nothing. The report they can only send is that we analyze. We lifted X number of prints or different type of DNA. We tested it, and this is the result that we got. We can match this fingerprints. Is that the kind of report you would receive, or you expect, or are you expecting them to give you the actual prints there?
Whichever would have sufficed. Meaning, yes, sometimes you get prints lifted or DNA not really matched. Remember,
Yes.
if your suspect in charge be the same. So I'm saying, never mind eating those on the system DNA to somebody who's received nothing. They weren't able to any DNA.
Now, you don't know whether they would have been able to lift any. You do know that when there was that 999 kg seizure, LCRC attended to the scene
Yes,
and discharged its duty to uplift any DNA and fingerprint. So then we must accept that that was an exercise in because whoever was responsible for that scene will not be hearing further from LCRC.
Be as bold.
How do you land on 100? Why not
I'm
1
just-
in 3?
I'm just-
So just a thumbs up on it. Is it possible that, and you remember that presentation we dealt with provided to the Commission by General Sinona on seizures from the seagoing vessels, that Port of Santos, Brazil, appears to be one of the key sources of these drugs. Do you accept that once that container hits the harbor in Johannesburg, in the harbor, that container is sealed, and it's assumed that it was sealed at point. You wouldn't have a difficulty in accepting that if LCRC lifts any prints, they will not be able to match to anyone in our database because these are people out in Brazil. You do accept, however, that seeing as the number of seizures we have been able to execute precisely out of that port, the more of those fingerprints and DNA we uplift and share with Brazil, the more we empower them that end to try and locate who may consistently be responsible for these shipments. You accept that? And you consider that absolutely unnecessary, therefore will not call SCI. And I ask this question on the assumption that you as DPCI are part of a global law enforcement movement against drug trafficking. You share and receive and other matters, but somehow you to undermine simply because you, Colonel Jacob, don't get back results from LCRC. Is that a fair take?
If I may explain, Commissioner, what we do when we make a seizure, we do a report that then goes to Interpol, issued, send them the method, conceal the logo on the drugs, everything regarding the modus operandi description. So with regards to trying to identify the suspects on the other side and try to profile them, we are doing but investigations are ongoing in that regard. If I may even elaborate on a recent one, we found a device on where we made a seizure, freezer containers. So there we found a SIM card, obviously a tracking device. So we sent it to our SANEB head office. We shared that information with Interpol, international law enforcement agencies. So that's about as far as it goes. What we do have at our disposal, we communicate with them. That being said, I've never shared DNA or fingerprints, but I won't say it's an exercise in futility. There may be that one odd case that comes up. So I can say going forward, I won't neglect in future, but I think my past experience played a major role in it.
be making. If the requirements and the national instruction is that LCRC must be there, it's not your call to make based on previous appointment that because they disappointed the past, I'm going to decide not to call them to a major seizure of drugs. You simply do not have that power. If the prescripts say LCRC must be at the scene, whether they mess it up or not, you don't have the power to, I won't call them.
Thank you.
Commissioner, may I add something? Hopefully I'm not in trouble. Of those 10 cases that General did as mine together with there was justifications. But that being said, I hear what you're saying.
Because it's binding you.
Yes, the discretionary, or the discretion that we exercise at these scenes, I think we no longer can call it discretion. But I just try to commission. There are those times that the IO makes those calls. Sometimes it's for a valid reason, but it lends itself to use without LCRC.
Actually, when we then quite...
Maybe that in this case, there's no...
Time I thought so, but now I...
Thank you, Commissioners. At least you appreciate that they take photographs for official photographs.
Yes,
and they prepare a report based on those photographs. Do you understand the value of those, whether in subsequent criminal cases or even a case brought civilly by the owner of the container claiming damages? Do you appreciate the value of the LCRC?
Yes, I do.
And you appreciated at the time, but because they don't give fingerprint, decided.
Yes, and I also had a comment.
Yes.
We've had cases where we have taken these seizures as well. Photos, proper photos, bagging, sealing, all of compiled an album, even of the General Flynn, who others the same, but it was something accepted.
By who? Non-compliance with is accepted by who? Canal, because there the commissioners are going to be interested. Who next to have a conversation with?
In this case, I think my point is it was not something picked up by floor crime scene. When
General Flynn is not part of my and your conversation. It's your understanding and appreciation. I'm testing. I don't know why you keep reference. You're a senior member, and I'm entitled to test your appreciation, knowledge, applicable prescripts, and compliance therewith. So I don't know why you.
No, I think I'll say it again. The complacent, old habits die hard. Obedience sometimes made us complacent, but like I say, it won't happen.
Yes.
On this, it seems to me, Colonel, that absence of the LCRC, therefore, absence of the report that they would have prepared, told us what was the container immediately at the depot. Their absence there, in fact, has the consequence that we have your word, and when I say your word, I mean only their words about what was found in there, because we don't have photographs that show, in fact, the LCRC been there from other FCs, you would have done the count there, you'd have done the sealing, and there would have been photographs of that. So as we sit here, we have only your word in the officers. What is that right? So if the depot manager were to say, or the security guard were to say, in fact, there was much more than this, it will be your word against there. We have no record, proper record, in fact, found when you were.
Thank you. In fact, I think you state at CJC 243.13 at page 605, we don't have to go there, you touched on this. I'll just read your paragraph 3 of that statement, and that's your statement on the 3rd of June 22. In that paragraph, you state as follows: photos of the scene were taken by myself and KG Sibiya on the day of the seizure. I'm unsure if Warrant Officer Mpangase had also taken photos or if Captain Duma had done so as well. So you left this entire photographing of the scene exercise to chance, depending on who wants to.
No, myself.
How many photos did two of you take?
Photos every from the lock, the
Okay.
bags, upon Isipingo, laying it out. He did take what was the inquiry. It was not a whole. At no stage asked me, those photos to what we.
Why would they think?
Just saying he saw that as that I'm sure we could provide it.
Now, your investigation diary, the one you into the record yesterday, I did not pick up from that diary that these photos were formally, are they recorded in?
And exchange.
Oh, you want us to go there?
Yeah,
Yes.
because I know photos were filed. I'm just trying to make reference to it.
Yeah, and that's exactly the exercise I did to see, because you took us through the mail of how to read that investigation diary, step by step, inspire. Yeah. And I said, what I couldn't find was an entry regarding these photos.
You say it's not.
I'm not saying it's not there, definitively, but I'm see a reference. Okay. But then let's assume that indeed not there, it wasn't made. Is that a problem?
It's not a major problem. If you look at every other such inquiry, it's not a must that to diarize. Yes, you make reference photos filed as per 7 of that name, but it's not that you file an affidavit or photos attached. I don't.
I'm concerned that you downplay the importance of photos in crime scenes, crimes in general, particularly this one. I would like to invite you to go to page 303, that would be exhibit file 1. If we start, 306 perhaps, at 306, that CJC 3235. And if you're at 306, you will see it's the LCRC Durban report compiled by Warrant Officer Zungu. You see that? Okay. In that particular case, you go over leaf, it then speaks to the photographs taken. It looks very formal. It tells the reader, photo 1, taken inside the LCS premises, whatever is the address, establishing shot of the marked crime scene was found. It works through all those photographs, explaining what the photograph did to photograph 28 at page 08, correct? Your file, your seizure doesn't have the benefits report. All it has are random pictures taken by yourself, which are not even entered into the investigation.
Yes, you are.
Now, my mind tells me, and I say this quite guarded, my mind made me dysfunction. It tells me that is wholly wrong unless there is a motive behind why things were done the way they were. And I say so because I want to put a proposition to you and invite you to make a comment as to why you did not call LCRC, as to why there are no formal records, to why you just took the whole lot and, shuttled it off to Isipingo. And that for me is at page 298 of the same file. This is the Maiden Wharf case 0040881. It relates, the LCRC photo album relates to the same case. And please note that this is from the July 2021, so it's after yours. Please bear that in.
What page?
298. And in this particular case, this is by Warrant Officer Sanda, who handled this decision. It stated, paragraph 3, that on that 26th August 2021, I was on and covered an amount of narcotics. Next line. I requested the provincial LCRC DNA from the bags. I was informed DNA samples should not be logged on the various if a CAS has not been opened. I therefore registered the case of Maiden Wharf CAS 04-08-2021 for drug. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
I suggest to you that why you didn't call LCRC was to avoid this formality that Colonel Sanders confronted, because this entire seizure was never really meant to go formally into the record of SAP, besides a cryptic SAPS, SAPS 13 at Isipingo.
Well, I just, maybe if I had to add, and this is really the reality. These type of cases are more of, like I said, we've had a 0% success rate. Yes, there's always the chance, but it's more of as long as, so that's primarily what, because we can clearly see that, and it's not something that the public wants to hear, but how difficult to really charge a suspect, especially, but I do what you say.
Thank you. Moving on then, I would like us to turn our attention to what happened at Isipingo, and in particular SAP 13. Yesterday, when we dealt with your statement, you indicated that at the time that SAPS 13 form or logbook was being completed, you said firstly it was by Warrant Officer Mbangase, correct?
That's correct.
And you said you did not see what he included in that document. You only became aware of it subsequent to the theft. Yeah, okay. You said to him making the entry, at which point you become aware of the content of that?
I said when I saw it ought to file it.
No, my question was, when did you become aware of that?
While watching it.
Oh, from this commission, you're going to hire DPCIs. I'm going to, it's CJC 193, and I would like to get your comment on that.
Which file number?
I'm not sure of my, the Isipingo SAP 13 were completed by Warrant Officer Mpangas. Went wrong in the, but if it's not CJC 193, you are aware anyway of what he wrote in that SAP 13.
Yes, Commissioner.
I'm looking at the file, the very first CT there is, which should mean that the one you are referring to is the one just before that.
Actually, two before that, but...
The difficult is that this one is 1, so the one you are referring is definitely 0.
Indeed, Chair, that is, in fact, that 193 means that...
Do you want to perhaps skip that,
I'll
move on to
skip
another
it
one,
while
and then you can redirect us?
That's fine. If you testified, and I think you have in your statement, that when you had, quote-unquote, exhausted all options, you informed Brigadier Nyuso of this, and he's the one who came up with the idea that they're stored at Port Shepstone. Did you know Port Shepstone was not a police station, but office?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell the commissioners what you made of that advice, and whether you thought comply with prescript to permit the storage of these drugs in the facility?
I didn't know that they stored drugs. And when the brigadier did tell me that the drugs should Port Shepstone, he also, not sure whether in the same breath, but remind me, he stored Port Shepstone. And I couldn't recall, but I just said, and when he said that, I said, but I wasn't aware that that was a viable option by the...
Yeah, now we are talking to a seasoned colonel, DPCI. Did you consider the suggested storage facility to be appropriate for...
When he did describe that it's a vault or a strong room, to me, that was... I didn't about the security issues. I had no knowledge of having previous attempted break-in.
But was the security of the seizure not of paramount importance?
Yes, it was.
So you must have thought of that when you are advised to store it in an office that is not meant 24 hours, an office. So it was paramount, it was uppermost in your mind, but you didn't think of it when you now were being so advised.
This is an instruction.
Sorry, you called it an instruction. It's an instruction.
I followed an directive.
What view did you hold of that?
At the stage, at that stage, nothing. QIJ.
The statement bundle.
Yes.
That's why SAP entry. Isipingo, that's correct. I was saying, you said technically Brigadier Nyuso was instructing, not advising you. You are aware of the legal requirements for storage of exhibits of this nature. Did you appreciate that his instruction might be inconsistent with the...
Consider. I wasn't sure whether guards were going to be posted there, whether it was a measure at that, so I didn't protest that.
It's your seizure. Shouldn't you be assured that wherever it is stored, it remains safe at all times? Or you don't bother yourself with detail?
No, this is my one would expect to have to express it. It's a gift for all of us. Nobody. Coming from him is the one one that didn't see at that time anything wrong with history. So I then relayed that.
Precisely because you knew nothing of the facility, was it not incumbent upon you to at least satisfy yourself that confronted with the challenge that you have, which is that you have exhausted all options in and around Durban, that whatever suggestion you get at least can assure you of the safety of exhibits? Because otherwise, what you are saying suggests that if Brigadier Nyuswa had suggested storage at the Durban Convention Center because they have a storeroom room or some hotel by the beachfront, you would have just simply accepted. You are not a junior member of the boss, surely. You exercise your mind over these matters. You engage with the issue, and you have to satisfy yourself before you go back on to being only. And now, my understanding of your testimony, and I suggest that's how you're coming across to the commissioners, that this one time you left it all Brigadier Nyuswa.
Commissioner, when he indicated to remember, so me, I was satisfied the facility implies, but I did.
This was the biggest seizure you had ever been involved in. It was big, at 541. We are not talking about a 10 kg seizure. This is huge. And I'm concerned about the dismissive attitude appear to have towards these drugs. Firstly, the risk of losing the only evidence you have. But secondly, the fact that they'll end up on this. Those matters don't cross your mind at all. Simply because Brigadier Nyuswa said, go store them in one of our offices. Colonel, please think about that.
Once again, they made that statement, called with me, that was the fact that before the incident involved the way of any security, my senior, to all of those, the fact that he had arranged a tracking armed escort of tactical members to escort him to Port Shepstone. In my mind, was taking, or I assumed that he was taking necessary precautions to safeguard. Because now it was left in his hand. I'm here at Durban. I'm based in Durban. He has now made this decision out from stage that Durban itself is.
You had exhausted all avenues.
When I say yes, when I say exhausted all, in no way it must be out of. Okay. When I say I've exhausted, but I'm saying in no way was I insinuating that now it must be taken far out before. So that's my answer.
Then I hear what you are saying, but just want to test if I understand you correctly. The moment Brigadier Nyuswa, who's your senior, instructed you to move them to Port Shepstone, he assumed full responsibility. Correct. They were no longer now your, notwithstanding that this is your case. You seized them. So you gave up all responsibility because your senior had so directed you. Am I understanding you correctly? That's all I need to know.
No, it's not gave up.
Okay. You shared responsibility with him. Where do we land?
No, I won't share from him lawful.
Yeah. So about responsibility, who bears the responsibility for all that 501 kg of cocaine?
You know, I'm not.
At the moment you choose to comply with the instruction. Either the responsibility stays with you or it's transferred to Brigadier Nyuswa. Or if there's a third option, you can tell me. But who bears the responsibility from that, the moment that instruction is executed?
Strictly speaking, the member booked out the exhibits. Once again, I'm not pointing as a shying out. It was warrant officer in column 5 out or 6 analysis. But I'm saying at that point, I told you of those and not myself.
Okay. So that's the third option.
But how Bear is moving there because you push away responsibility for the movement at Shepstone, the decision to start Shepstone said. So I was on the basis of what I said. But the same apply. You tell Warrant of Anga say they will Shepstone. He acts on the basis. Why do you apply a different standard and say, well, the one who put it out is responsible when in fact he put it out because you said so?
The way I bears responsible for those. I'll say it again, once again, whenever you put them out, whichever way it's out, it's your responsibility. Yes, I would have made, or the one to lies that gap. The custodians was warrant of. But I'm not shying away from the fact that, yes, I did instruct the lady upon handing over the scene to say, there's now in these drugs to Port Shepstone. He has now a tracking team to an armed escort to Port Shepstone. So just for clarity, that was.
Maybe then, if it was a different question that you were answering, let me reframe my question. Warrant Officer Mbangase will be correct. Forget how I phrased it as a question. It's meant to. Warrant Officer Mbangase will be correct to say, I moved drugs to Port Shepstone on the instruction of Colonel Jacob. There would be nothing wrong with him saying.
The correct way to say it's instruction, yes, but I'm relaying an instruction of my I'm commander. Can be seen that
you gave an instruction to Warrant Officer Mbangase based on the instruction to you by Nyuswa. So there's 3 people involved. Brigadier Nyuswa did not give Warrant an instruction. He never spoke to you. He gave you an instruction. He said they will go to Port Shepstone because you said we have nowhere else to go. You then said to Warrant Officer Mbangase, these will go to Port Shepstone. All I'm putting to you, Warrant Officer Mbangase can't rely on Nyuswa's instruction because he never spoke. For all I care, you could have been untruthful to Mbangase. All he knows is you, his senior, tell him these will go to Port Shepstone. So he would be right. He came here and say, well, I was told by superior on the scene that it's Shepstone. He would be good.
I think 90% thing warrant officer would say. Jacob informed Brigadier.
Thank you.
And on that score, whether it was an agreement by you and Brigadier Nyuswa, or it was Brigadier Nyuswa's instruction, perhaps it might help to have regard to CJC 243.6 at page, it starts at 589. That is your statement dated 9th November 2021, CJC 243.6.
Page?
589. Page 589. If you go, the last page of that is page 592, and you see that it's dated 9th November 2021. And as I understand from our interaction yesterday, this is actually your second statement. You remember the first is the unsigned version. This is your second statement in November 2021. At page 591, you'll find paragraph 11. And it reads as follows. I made several calls to Brigadier Nyuswa informing of what was transpiring. I indicated to him that we needed a safe place to store there. He undertook to make inquiries regarding a safe storage place. Eventually, the Brigadier indicated that the NPVC members, together with the tracking team, would assist to convey the exhibits for storage at Port Shepstone, Serious Organized Crime Unit. We were instructed to await for those members for an armed escort. And then after a while, some people arrived. Is that your expression of the instruction that you received? That's the closest I get to an instruction in your statement.
Yes.
Just to check this, if Brigadier Nyuswa comes before the commission and states that you put a problem and a challenge to him, and this is an option think of at the time and to you to consider, that the eventual decision was yours, what would you say?
The final decision
And you maintain that it was a direct instruction you could not disobey.
was a direct.
Just to finish off on one issue, as I understand your testimony, the container arrived, it had a specific seal number, it was locked with a specific seal number, correct? We've come across that number often enough, H175. That is the seal that you broke at CHC depot. I'm looking at your statement, the undated statement, your very first statement at 574. It's not an issue, that seal number. It appears everywhere. So I just want to understand the order of things. You broke that seal at CHC depot. You emptied the container of the drug. You took out the bags.
The bags.
Was it sealed thereafter? By who?
My state will state it somewhere.
Okay,
He said by an employee at the depot.
I'll read another statement of yours at 6:50 dated 26 September 2022 at paragraph 3. Last line you say, it is for this reason that I deducted that one of the staff at the warehouse resealed the container with seal number ALUVIN, capital B10346. You give that detail in your statement and you say you deduced that one of the staff members had resealed it. Is that so you don't know who resealed it?
No.
Okay, then let's go to your page 650. That's your statement.
Yeah.
Of the 26th of September. Do you have it? Okay. Now, just read into the record the last sentence at paragraph 3.
It is for this reason that I deduced that one of the staff at the warehouse resealed container, seal number, and I go on to the number. I think that word deduced does not really in there. If you read the line preceding, or a sentence or two before that, where it starts, the DPCI members on the scene did not have any seals with us. Upon inquiring from members on the scene, no member could take responsibility for resealing container. For this reason that I don't know, deduced is not the right word. The staff at the warehouse resealed container. It was really in our presence, and I think the reason this was done, the seal belonged to the warehouse staff themselves. You know, we were not, Border Police had no seal, sometimes Customs has seals, but this was a seal kept by the warehouse themselves. So we thought since they're going to be the custodian, let them seal it. We had that on record. They put it in a place where there's cameras. That's what.
You started by denying when I read that you just
No, deduced is not the right
No,
word.
but it's the word that I'm looking at. I'm not making it up.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think what would I mean by saying.
It's one thing to want to correct it. It's another to suggest that I'm making the word.
Yeah, but Commissioner, I don't know what's the point of address your question.
No, it's all right. You vehemently took issue with what I read, but now you've read it for yourself, and it says that you are explaining that you didn't mean. You probably intend to use another word. So I think we're fine. My question really is, this is the seal after your. Okay, I'll call it the seal of the 22nd of June, 2021.
Yes.
Okay, together. Colonel?
Yes.
Okay.
Ma'am.
Now, I am familiar with documents of those two numbers. If you look at your paragraph 35, it reads, your paragraph 35, your statement in the commission,
Yes.
at page 6. On 1st July 2021, I proceeded to the CHC depot of Mpangas and Sibiya. I had arranged that the clearing agent, Metafreight, send a reprieve to unpack the container, and we conducted a count of 50 kg of bags of animal feed. You remember yesterday you testified that you needed to satisfy yourself that the animal commodity that is listed on the bill of lading in the quantity suggested exactly what you found.
Correct.
That exercise of the 1st of July ought to have required you broken the seal of the 22nd of June.
That is correct.
Was the container resealed there? And if so, by who?
The 22nd of June.
No, on the 1st of
I actually can't recall, Commissioner, and the reason for it didn't, so can't say it was resealed.
You break the seal, you do whatever you had decided in the container, then you leave it to the clearing agent. I ask because that is the one seal number I've never been able to find this third seal number. It would suggest that the container, after you opened it on the 1st July 2021 for the stated, was never and I just wanted to test whether that's the correct.
Okay, just so I get clarity, Commissioner. We're saying that when we did conduct the operation on 22nd 21,
yes,
the original seal was broken, a new seal was put in place to ensure that container was locked. On the 1st July, coming back to do an unpacked container, obviously that seal would have been broken to allow us access. And thereafter, the container itself, after the unpack, was handed over to the clearing agent from Mega. So there's no need for police now to have any interaction.
So the clearing agent takes full responsibility of the unsealed container.
That is-
And that is the reason why I can't reference.
Do say in your diary entry that it was resealed. The first
I
at
can't
page
remember.
804, you just don't share a number that's sealed.
It's a long time. But my point, I think, in essence, is that we have no further interest in containers. So whether I reseal it or not, I've now officially.
But what do you mean you have no interest? Whether you seal it or not is irrelevant. I mean, our understanding of the evidence and the procedures is you seal it to return it where you found it, basically. At the end of whatever the police do, they lock it up so that they're able to say, this is how we left it. That's why you take pictures of everything that you do. That's why you have a record of what was done, and then you close it up. And then beyond that, if anything is found to be amiss in there, you are able to say, here's our record of what we did and what we found, and when we locked it up, and here's the seal number. So what you're saying now goes contrary completely to those procedures. It means the police can arrive, and in fact, that's what it suggests here. You got there, opened it, did whatever you did, and you just leave it in the hands of the clearing agent, could turn around and say, stuff was missing.
We would have firm 5,000. We would have made him sign some firm. I can't recall offhand, but we would safeguard ourselves to ensure that he doesn't come missing.
The issue I'm taking with you is you saying we've done what we needed to do. It doesn't matter that we didn't seal it. Because remember your evidence earlier was you were accepting that you did not seal it, or you may not have sealed it. And then you seek to justify that by saying it's actually of no consequence and that it may not have been sealed. And I'm taking issue with that but it is of consequence. It is worrying that you're sitting there and you're saying it's of no consequence.
Commissioner, I'll say the fact that the clearing, he was satisfied with. In my mind, no need, but it seems like we did seal it. I hear what.
Is there no requirement that you should seal it? Because, you see, we have to distinguish your ways of doing things from the procedures, the protocols that are required of police officers when they do operations like this. We have to distinguish those. So if you say that's your way of doing it, and according to you it was of no consequence, it's a different subject for criticism, however we choose to criticize. If you say the protocol doesn't require that I seal it back because it's of no consequence, we look at the protocol and confirm that indeed you're correct to say that, and maybe even comment finally whether that protocol needs to be amended or not. So I want to understand why you say what you say, that it doesn't matter, because the protocol says it doesn't matter.
Commissioner, as far as I'm aware, when you break the seal, the photos issue be proper. Also, before and you take contraband, legitimate commodity, that's a gift that you seal before. As for when the clearing agent is there and you do a final unpack and realize that all is in order, I'm not aware of it in terms of.
Can I ask you the question differently? If the first time you went there, 22nd, you opened and you found no contraband, are you saying you could simply have walked away without sealing that?
No.
So it doesn't matter that the clearing agent is there. What matters is what are SAPS protocols. Right? That's really what matters. This was a police operation on the 1st of July. It was. When you went and opened there, at least we must assume for now that you were conducting a police operation on the 1st of July. You got there, you instructed that container be opened in the exercise of police function. That's why it's in your diary, right? There are rules about what you do. You record what you have done. You take pictures of what you've done today, and then you close up and you record the serial number. That's what I'm suggesting to you, that you record and you take pictures, including pictures on a number of the seal that you've used to reseal the container, whether or not the agent is there. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I think it becomes a bit of an issue because, I'll put differently, Warrant Officer Mbangasa opened the inquiry file, correct? And one of the very first documents in there is a statement provided by you, the unsigned statement. And Warrant Officer Mbangasa was the investigating officer for all of the 7 days before you came back and you took the inquiry file back. We couldn't find in that inquiry file a statement. Your statement is there, but it doesn't appear that you took a statement from Warrant Officer Mbangasa and Warrant Officer Sibiya for purposes of the inquiry. Why is that? And there is no entry in the investigation diary that either of the statements was obtained from the two. You seem to have collected statements from almost everybody except those. Why is that?
There's no particular reason. Generally preparing for court, with something in court, you'd want many will corroborate in court. Yeah, this is an inquiry headed for filing. And like I say, it's more of a recovery and a seizure investigation, seeing there's no foreseeable prospect of arrest. So I think that's the only simple answer. I didn't bother to. So it should have been done, but I think I omitted. I didn't see that something on my priority statements from all the, what had me or should have arisen to take us.
We know that at Isipingo police station, when Warrant Officer Mbangase booked in the exhibits, he also booked in a DPCI inquiry number, right? And I take it, and I think somewhere it stated that he opened that inquiry docket.
Not sure, but...
Is that not the effect?
Sorry.
Is that not the effect?
I can't say if he opened it or he called somebody at the office to open it.
Okay. In a sense that you didn't open it because you were back on leave. But we know it came into being on the 22nd of June, 2021. I'm trying to be most fair and say that was by Warrant Officer Mbangase. I'm not going to suggest somebody did it behind his back.
No, Commissioner,
Okay.
maybe I need to enlighten on the
You
process.
keep elevating my position.
To enlighten you on how this process works.
Yes, please.
To register an inquiry, there's designated persons. The person does your care registration.
Okay.
So they've got the power to register. Not every member that goes to a system register an inquiry.
I'm with you.
So lots of times, if you're on the field, you'll phone that member at the office to register an inquiry so that you can have a reference.
And we know that our SAP 13 tells us that because that's an entry by a warrant officer, Mpanga, at least is the one who did. And from that moment, you did indicate that he was the investigating officer until you took over on the 29th of June. Why is the A1 statement, the first statement in that inquiry file, not his? Because at the point you opened that inquiry file, he was the investigating officer. Why doesn't it kick off with his statement and awaits your statement after you have assumed responsibility for the inquiry?
I can't think. The simple answer. Some members don't like that. I'm somebody who enjoys writing, so maybe it's got something. He should have filed this. But like I'm saying, in these cases, generally just an A1 will suffice because there's no so many witnesses to corroborate what transpired because you're not going to court. So it's generally not done where people say the same thing. It's only, we take statements, normal, different role players and so on.
Okay. So as an investigating officer, Warrant Sampangase, he's the investigating officer from the 22nd. He opens that inquiry file and absolutely nothing happens in that file until you come back after the 29th of June and then you subsequently file your undemanded. Is that the correct?
Commissioner, that statement dated and signed it. So I'm thinking maybe while I was on leave, I did a statement, emailed it to him. I'm not sure, but there wouldn't be a reason why I wouldn't sign it. So I probably sent it maybe there and I just need an inquiry file to ensure it was signed.
You are trying to give him some activity in the week that you are an investigating officer. It's rather a stretch.
Sorry, just on this, absolutely nothing happening until you come back from leave. And I would like to hear your comment on this. It looks like you came in from leave, led the operation, you left and went back to your leave, and then you came back and you took over from where you left off. And the impression that I have is Warrant Officer Mpangase was really holding for you. You never left this matter. And I want to give you one example why it looks that way to me, is you go back to leave on the 22nd. On the 23rd, you phone Colonel Kuzwai of FSL, so you are actively involved. You didn't leave it to Ngase. Somewhere down the line in those days still, you talked to him about making sure that these things are entered in the SAP 13. So you continued to be active in this file, in this docket. So it's misleading, in fact, to say, I got involved only until 1 o'clock or whatever time on the 22nd, and I left them at Isipingo. And I left, and I had nothing to do with the rest of this matter. And then when I came back, he was leaving. Mpangase was going retirement because everyone in the office knew that was going to happen. And for that reason, I took over. People took over his dockets, and it seems like it's an engineered set of circumstances that, in fact, the truth of it is this remained your matter, even as you were, as we see from your continuity when you are on leave. I would like to hear your comment about that. That's the impression I have, and that's my view at this point until you've explained it.
The simple answer, I'm conscientious. It's a simple. There may have been no need for SL, there may have been no need, but I felt that's my due commander. I had to ensure or remind exhibit, I'm the one who called the lab, all being in dispute, and found out how to get the ball rolling. All of this that I had done was to ensure that this investigation gains momentum, gets finalized.
The simple fact I'm making, you're actually confirming what I'm saying, that you never left this matter. Because the impression you have given, or at least that I had gained, is that you were brought in and you gave an explanation why you told Commissioner Khumalo yesterday, in response to a direct question, why would you come out to deal with this? You are on leave, anyone else could have dealt. You gave your explanation. I was excited. I've never been involved in a bust at a container. So, and I love my job. That's why I went in. I didn't even claim my leave after I had been in. But I left because I continued to be on. The proposition I'm making to you is, in fact, you never left. You continued to be involved in this matter, even as you were on. You continued to be involved. You say you're conscientious because you're conscientious. I say, well, that's your reason for doing it. All I'm putting to you is the facts. The facts are Mpangase was acting on your instructions to get feedbacks, to put things in an SAP 13. You were directing him. Do this, do that. Even though you say, I knew him to be an experienced officer who would know what to do. You can see from him that either he didn't know what, or he was grossly negligent. But you were directing and telling him, do this, do that. But not only that, because you are conscientious, you phone Colonel Khumalo, you call the lab. So you're very busy in the period that you're on leave. So you never stepped off this case. You remained throughout. And Mpangase, and I'm saying to you, my impression is Warrant Officer Mpangase was holding fort for you and taking directions from you while you were on. That's the impression I have, and that's what I'm putting to you looks like.
Commissioner, that's the role of to guide you, ensure that. So that's what regards. I never knew. When I came back, I was caught off guard. He reminded me he's going off. He doesn't want all of dockets and inquiries. Even do a check and see. And it would have been around the same time. All of the dockets and inquiries were now disseminated. It wasn't this specific. The reason that this had come to is generally the norm that where a member involved in an operation, then you are the IO. Now the 3 three options we had was myself, KG Sibiya, Pangase. Pangase is the one, I didn't go ask him, I want this. He was the one that didn't want to. When I came back from leave, I never issued an instruction that I want this.
You're not disputing my putting to you the fact that even as you were on leave, you continued to be involved with this. You say because it's a duty of a commander to continue to give directions to their members. You say because you're a conscientious commander. You give your explanations why. I'm putting to you the fact that you continued to be involved. You give a justification. All I'm saying to you is the impression that you handed over to Mbangase and you left. And then you came back and he was about to retire and his files were being distributed and this one landed on your desk. It doesn't look like it was all fortuitous because you continued to be involved with this matter in your office. Beyond, other than Mbangase, you knew the most, you had the most involvement with this matter by the time he retired. You and him were the two people closely involved with fact. That is a fact. Thank you.
Commissioner,
You can comment if you want to.
I think I was actively involved with SAPS in the day of the operation where I made. Up until the 29th of return, I had no fun. Played it. I told him what I came back. Out of my leave days, it was the one day of the operation and one day after. But other than that, I enjoyed my leave. Came back on the 29th and now I find this readers and this comes I was.
Let's adjourn and resume at 2:10.
Thank you. Exhibit C, JC 23231. It starts at page 81.
Because I don't know if in the one email say quicker to
The second, 23.
the same document. So the one, it was on 062.
Thank you. And I would like to draw your attention, ask you of that. I'm looking at subhead from CJ31. You've located it, particularly in paragraph 5.8. 5.8 it starts, submission of drugs, forensic analysis. And then at A, it says the member from the investigation, all the drugs, with the exception of cannabis material, visually identifiable, are submitted to section forensic science laboratory 7 days. For the moment, let's ignore this. I'm interested in the requirement that for forensic, all without with the exception of cannabis must be submitted. You've always understood that to be the legal position.
I'm aware of that.
Now, when you instructed Warrant Officer Mbangas to take samples or shaving from the bricks to send, it was not in compliance.
Debate, so maybe I can.
As long as your debate is.
It says the member from the investigating must ensure that all the drugs.
I said, let's not talk about the except. It is what must be delivered that I want to engage you on. Here, it says all what you have must be for forensic. Now, I want to understand. When you instructed Warrant Officer Mbangas to take, I'll call them shaving, you said 5 bricks. That doesn't comply.
Okay, I understand you said let's forget about the 7. My thing was this, and it's open for debate whether it was meant to misleading or deceptive. It is my reasoning behind the sample. I knew these drugs, the lab accommodate the FSL and Mtoti. I knew we were having a problem with FSL at Pretoria because of Pingo. So when I did call Kanswayo for guidance, he did guide me to take samples because my thinking was this is not going to get to the lab. I'm not sure when. So I thought let's send something confirmed that it's cocaine. At that stage, if Colonel Kanswayo had told me no, you're not allowed to take samples, we cannot assist you, and that's it. We won't even accept samples. You're not supposed to take samples that fashion. I would have adhered to. But I'm saying I called her. He did explain the procedure to me, and I would think shortly thereafter call Warrant of Pangase, given him guidance based on what he told me. So as much as I understand this and I understand the entirety of FSL, I did what I did merely to ball rolling, merely to show some activity that these drugs are not just going to sit there. They parallel to our investigation that I know is we headed nowhere. I wanted to get the ball rolling, the analysis part, analysis, destruction, whatever, but I wanted that those drugs must not lie in storage for a length. So I do agree with you. It speaks to the entirety of the drugs and my reading as to why I did.
So, if I understand you correctly, you more or less had a sense of requires that all of them go. You were confronted.
That is correct.
In summer, and that you ended up taking this shaving.
Guiding.
You were so guided. My recollection. Go ahead.
Called Kuzwayo.
I would think in the third, I was unsure 22nd, the third, but since Pangase talks about or there's some reflection samples, that's why I'm more to.
These things at this point are not yet sealed. They're not yet in the SAP 13 Shepstone. Oh, you knew that. What is the agency you're on leave at this point? What is the agency that propels first step take the very next day? Now asking sampling sample. Haven't, at least following the sequence of your state, you haven't phoned Pretoria to tell you us what they said. I'm soon to come back to maybe.
Commissioner, I was not under the impression that my understanding with Pangase is that as soon as they got to Port Shepstone, they exhibited in bags, entered in the 30 Port Shepstone SAP 13, and then if they wish to book it out and store it at serious organ. That was the correct sequence to do things, seeing as how the initial step, Isipingo, fell off. Now it's gone there. The normal course of this it would have been taken to Port Shepstone, either at the station or at the unit in bagged in exhibit bags, would be entered in a SAP 13 at Port Shepstone. From there, Pangase could have booked it out, retrieved the samples, as I said, retrieved those samples, meaning book those bags in, book those bags out. And as Enokuzwayo had explained to me, you can open a bag, make an incision on the, take out a minute quantity of powder, do that for 5 different bags and 5 different bricks. And then when you seal those torn exhibit bags, you seal the brick with tape again, a little bit of tape so it doesn't leak, put the old exhibit bag together with this brick you've now tampered into a new exhibit bag, you seal that, and then you re-enter that that, because now the chain has been a little bit lost, he ought to have re-entered that and also entered that one exhibit bag that now contains 5 smaller exhibits. That should have been entered in the SAP 13 as well. Because now when I took it to the lab, I was not mindful that there's no record of it anywhere in any SAP 13. So that would have been a logical sequence of events. And hence, I'm saying I guided him, thinking that all of this would have been done. But when I speak to him, then I hear from he hasn't in SAP 13 bags as yet. And that was contrary to my understanding 22nd.
Did I mishear? Did I seal his bag? But what you're saying.
When I did call him and tell him about the sample, but at that stage, I thought on the 22nd he would have done the bags in the SAP. So this next step to me was the next best thing. Presumptive tests have been caught. The next best thing, it analyzed just to show that what we do have the cocaine, because nobody would have known what it was had it just been lying there. So there was no malicious or there was no intent otherwise than just the ball rolling. And I thought these other prerequisites that come before you actually take a sample or send it, meaning that in the SAP 30, the exhibit bags issue, hooking it back out, taking those samples, taking that broken or the new exhibit bag, taking that sample. I thought by that time when I advised on how to take samples, the exhibit had been entered into 30 in bags, but it wasn't the case. That's why it turned out to be so upside down that there's no even record of the exhibit bag that the FSL. And my instructions was to him, FSL, not for.
I think you didn't give him Heist, the sample, so you only have no record as your such. This is a big note, but you're on record. It's not a.
We don't consider being on leave in our job. It counts for yes, you're not, but it's not something that's in stone at all time. You still have to, because I know I'm going to have to at some point with whatever. So I may as well ensure the process is running smooth. And like I said, for that first two, third, I don't think.
No. Don't dwell the days. In what capacity you're either on demonstrator meeting this man carried. You say if you take all of it. That's all. There's.
I think the only get some workers, as much as some.
Except his hand, he may well be misconduct you with this.
He did everything upside like 13.
No, but in relation, so the sealing of the bags, those he may not have carried them out, but only.
I would say with regards to the exhibit bags, not really. I don't know how I can put this.
That pattern.
Okay, yes, no, the next part, the sample.
Thank you.
So when you there's bricks of suspect this point, you don't know what in fact.
Sample 5 random bags, 5 small. You get a very small. Do that same bigger eggs. So that was.
In fact, that we get this detailed out a sample the size of it also. Now you say so. Now you say understand he doesn't. We've seen either ever. You leave it as far as your sample. There was no method. Just said random bricks. You didn't even say to him the size of the sample itself. You break certainly, and because you were not also don't. Thank you.
Now, consolidated. While for that, we are to get to why tab you found it. On this matter, you say we have spoken now about your sampling request for. You just said that at your statement, you then speak of the engagement you had with Warrant said that, where he then says at your explain that how you now
October. I thought I was going
rather. No, Kumalo, I just completed. I'll also double. Please go to page 5 of Ms. Kuzwayo's statement. Paragraph you there. He says whether land lab performing. You agree. FSL does not safety, nor does it sample or add to comment.
I'm going to say it the way I am saying no, and I think when I did see all the FSL, it left. So I'm saying I know what that thereafter realized that we are not. But I'm saying there would be no plausible, even if I was planning, there would be no reason to ask to take sample analysis. There's no upside. It's not. So it's going to his eyebrow. So the only reason I did because of my call to Kuzwayo, her advice.
It's worth to know what could really cocaine. Because what's the point of stealing soap? That's why analysis is important. If you know that it's cocaine, you know that.
Can I respond to? Firstly, during the normal course of use, our lab does not give us any in terms of anything. When they put it through their machines, all they're checking for is cocaine.
Let me remind you, you said it's possible we can do ask the
Yes, the normal is just going to, but I'm going to give you advice on how to really good quality, and I was that way inclined. I'm going to tell you how. If you take a small quantity of that powder and get a person on the street, a cocaine user, to test it, it's going to tell you whether it's a one-way, and you get maybe somebody else who it's two, So other than the lab, there's quicker methods to have known the quality. So there would have been no need to send it to the lab unless on special request I'm asking to check purity or anything.
And remember the allegation. Now, you handpick the analyst, they said we don't allow. Yeah. So that's where this whole thing.
I see. Because I was on. But when I look at it, the reason I asked I spoke to Seth Shetty because we know him, been working with him for years. So newfound fear is
our steps, and you understand. Because I don't want to.
There's a response you gave to a question. If we are dealing with drugs,
the one-way cocaine that's just purely for sniff cocaine adding the powder. 2 ways is cocaine that's also good, and obviously yield in terms of kilogram of cocaine. When you've got 2-way cocaine, you get a higher yield. It's better for crack cocaine, high hit, and it can be. It's much more expensive commodity.
I hope you still have your protocol on the search, seizure, and drug.
Yeah.
Is it still? I need you to turn to page 89. I understand that your engagement with FSL on the 27th of October was to seek an expedited. Yes. So I now 89 read 5.12, which stipulates that the commander must provide a disposal instruction of the illicit drug. Column 5 of SAP in register on page the case docket. Is there any written initial disposal? How would the destruction that you desired without complying even?
Did ask merely finding Then the next me, yes, we can dispose and destroy every drug. So my interaction merely finding, and that's when he pointed out, no, I'm not, my engagement, I had no, merely to get these drugs to our hands, analyzed, be taken away from.
You asked him, is it possible to ask him to die?
Okay, Commissioner, I think I a little bit initially, but every case follows the same life cycle. You've got exhibit, analyzed, the lab gives you a section 212 analysis report confirming. If you've got a case that's going to court, then you let keep those exhibits until the trial, because the may those drugs. But once a trial is completed, then you use SAP for them to destroy. You give them results. But in inquiry, when there's an inquiry, more especially of this report, yes, as a formality, we're asking. But if your exhibits have not gone for analysis, you've got them lying, or they've gone for analysis, but they haven't analyzed, and then you realize, okay, my case is going no suspect. Then you can also contact SAP at that stage, the lab to destroy. So that's how I was finding out expediting analysis, destruction, whatever. Basically, I was trying to get the ball rolling. That can I get an analysis report from you guys? Okay, now that I've got my analysis report, let me file it in my inquiry. Then I'm going to give you all that 83A. Although the normal course of they would have already had custody. So this is a little bit of it, because I'm sitting with all of the Port Shepstone. So it's a little bit of a normal, but still, when you want to destroy you. When I say expedite, I mean expedite your analysis. Or if you tell me, no, we can destroy this place in Pretoria, or bring it to us, we'll send it to Pretoria or to the Western, I would have done. So that was every engagement with FSL was with a view, the ball rolling, analyze, destroy, dispose, whatever, but to get rid of those.
Expediting condition that you were talking about, analysis or
whichever.
No, you had a discussion. It said, yeah, I want to know what you had.
Yes, firstly, because it was sent, that's why I inquired. Then another part of my conversation would have been, do you have place? Can we? So that's what my engagement schedule. There was no sinister motive. There was no real, not sure, in pursuit of finding exactly. He may have had that, and it was never mind.
Do you, as a matter of course, in your other matters you have sent, the analyst to die, is there no process? And I ask you this in fairness, you would have been listening, that he has explained a process, that inquiries are not made list about the status of analysis. Yes. Why do you ask him, the front desk or the admin? How did you know he's the one responsible?
He was not the one.
So how could he give you an answer if you knew that he's not responsible for this and he's not admin? So he can't give you the answer. Why is it him asked expedite, whether you can expedite?
Warren or Chedi, I've known him, we've worked on so many CAD lab scene where it was, we've got that, we had that, where the one, like I said, my call, my phone, we've got that. My inquiries were general. It wasn't trying to pressurize him, hey, I want you.
I'm not saying that's what you were doing. I don't know why you're saying that. Just try and answer my question. My question to you is simply this. His CAN lab, your sample has nothing to do. Why to him? You don't know that he's your analyst in this particular matter. He has described to us a process where if the police want to find out the status of the analysis of their samples, this process, they don't go to an analyst. And he gave us what sounds like good reason why you wouldn't go to an analyst, or you wouldn't even know. You go to admin, you're asked to produce, I think, a receipt which has a number, and something is looked up in the system, and you get told what happened. You have experience in these things. This is not your first referral to the FSL. Why you speak to him doesn't make sense and requires an explanation. It's not a general question. It's specific to a sample. You're not asking how does it work normally. You say, I have a sample in your lab. That's why you're talking to him. I have a sample in your lab. I need it to be expedited. That's what you say. So my question is, why are you speaking to this person who has absolutely nothing to do with your sample? Because he's not the allocated analyst. No one has told you he's allocated analyst. 2, his CAN lab, your sample is not a CAN lab sample. Why are you speaking to him about both the expediting and the destruction?
It was merely hearing, wanting to hear. It wasn't specific that I wanted him to handle divulging. Merely inquiries, member of the FSL for years. Most of my engagement came to the FSL was either with or Sechedi. So he was our go-to person. If you look at my phone, he's the one I call most of. So for me, it was just somebody that I knew at the lab, and I asked him. There wasn't really tension. It's merely guidance. How do
I personally, even if they didn't know it was never said because you gave us samples. My issue has to the timeline. You being there, and by the way, between you and Sis, not much difference. He had worked in a seizure. Then he says you were there too, and while you were there, and then he says this is in 4. You asked and then the last one of. So I don't have a problem with that. Although you seem to say my problem. He says that the people to steal the drugs, and that was your reason. How could you have known who wanted the drugs?
You know, upon my missioner's song, I'm sure she's still recording. So what I want to say is,
it says you deleted.
No, I'm saying
actually she said you have disappearing messages and whatever you say, and what she's got your number.
Yes,
but she doesn't have anything because the stuff has disappeared because apparently on your side.
Commissioner, I'm so glad you.
Colonel, I don't want
to. Sorry, I'm digressing.
I want you to think about this.
Yes.
So my concern is How did you know that? Now, that's if you want to go into the other colonel,
I'll
and
handle
the other,
yours.
that should be the second. But your discussion with said that the real reason why you destroyed didn't ask for September or in August, it was in October. And then a week later, 10 days later, the drugs are. That's my biggest worry, that on the 27th, you say to him there are people who want to the Port Shepstone facility drugs. On the 8th of November, that actually happened.
Commissioner, laughable when I tell you the right story. It impacted my life so badly. I don't find it funny, but others do. I went there after Brigadier News had told me an attempted. When I saw warrant officer said Sherry, I relayed the exact same thing. The Brigadier News told me attempted break-in Port Shepstone. That's why I'm asking, getting an attempted break-in. I'm just going to play devil. How stupid would I be to go and tell a member of FSL, knowing I'm planning to steal drug people up? How would I possibly know that? So I'm saying this, and I know it's a bit far-fetched. This is the only far-fetched, but I want you to hear me. Warrant officer said Sherry, when Lieutenant Colonel Sibiya and I had arrived there, he's the one who told me that they were approached by this head office guys, and he made it known to, he said so that they put him under pressure. They asked him, hey, where are my drugs? We want out. He told me that. He said, put him under pressure. They asked him, where are our drugs? So as we talk here, I said, but, and then you recall we had this conversation, and I made it clear, and I know she was recording. I said, firstly, I'm not here to sway you or to change whatever statement. I just want an understanding, because according to my statements and my notes and what I know, this is my discussion with. But if you say...
Let me, you are discussing other if left. And I know you, I don't want to let you issues
in a nutshell,
that
yes. In a nutshell, I'm saying I did not say at that, not...
I understand that your approach to FSL on the drugs because of
That is-
and your solution to the problem was
Yes.
and this was 3.5 months since the arrest. The basis for that is that you were not finding 3.5 reasonable investigate on issue of this nature.
I'll answer these cases normally, but...
So at which point do you stop or you don't even bother anymore?
No, the investigation was headed. Statements were taken. Whatever investigation had been.
In
So
3
there was
months.
nothing. There was none further to find us.
In that case, why did you not do the necessary?
They can't destroy until they have you. That's how it works. The lab has to possession of your when you submit.
So you would have taken them to the simple answer that
Yes,
you would have a action note, the whole consignment, the lab.
The lab could not house them, could not take it, whether it be for destruction, disposal, analysis. They were not taking. Bottom line, the lab could it either.
No, but you never made you certainly have not testified, and we don't have anywhere in your statements, other than your discussion with Sitsedi. It's a general discussion, you say. No way was a request made to the lab. At least remind me if I'm wrong in my election of that. No way is it your evidence that you requested. Request was made to the lab to destroy these questions.
Commissioner, once you cannot destroy, can I ask the lab to destroy? Firstly, it's a matter of getting. Then step 2 is you don't just, the lab can't house it. How are they going to destroy?
Your answer then suggests that the only destiny for these drugs was they were going to be stolen because this lab was not going to have them because they don't have space. And Pretoria, you tell us, you even tried Pretoria, it doesn't have space. So these labs, these drugs were never going to be destroyed by the lab. Even though you've done the investigation, you have finished, and their destiny was to be stolen. It actually turned out the way that it was going to be. On your...
Commissioner, if there was a way I could magically make those drugs or destroy them on my own, or if there's any other thing further I could have done to destroy those, maybe the commission can enlighten me because I feel...
I can't enlighten you. I'm just a civilian. You're the one with the experience in that space. You're the one that sees these drugs. You're the one that makes the decision to detain them, even after you were told that there was an attempt to steal. You're at the very least, you're part of the decision there. And after you were told that they break it, you tell us that the lab could never do this because Amanzimtoti doesn't have the space. And really, I'm now testing what you're telling us, that according to you, what was going to be the fate of this? Because you say the lab did not have capacity to take these drugs. They just don't have the space. And now you say they could never destroy them because they don't have the space to take. So maybe you're the one that should enlighten me at least. What was the ultimate fate of these drugs then in your way of the way you've looked at it and the way you're explaining?
Commissioner, if I may use the example, as also we're sitting with a whole consignment. The lab doesn't. So in that case, it's only 1 year now the theft of cocaine. And now FSL Pretoria placed in miraculous dosing. And they also take goods from Maiden Wharf, the 8th and 9th November. Should be a clear indication that that's the time the lab, the problem, more drugs are stolen. So I'm saying, if I use that Mandrax as an example, the similar procedure, the lab could house it, but when eventually straight for destruction. So that's what my endeavors were. Take it for this, do whatever.
Exactly my question, Kel, that what you're explaining about the Mandrax, it went for destruction, not for storage. I'm asking exactly the same question. Why did you not ask your commander to issue a destruction notice so that these drugs go for destruction, not for keeping? And I don't hear your answer.
Not as simple. Today we do a destruction. The lab has certain periods or interval drugs. For not as simple as I just come and tell them. That's why I use the same to trying to dispose of. The lab only managed to do it.
No, let's come back to Let's come back to. Can we agree? You have never, except for your conversation with Sitsedi, you've never asked the lab to destroy these, that you have drugs that you are keeping and you want them to be destroyed. There's never been that quest. You are dealing with Amanzimtoti, Sitsedi, Kuzwayo. They are closest to you. Can we just confine this to that? You have never asked Amanzi Mtoti to to take these drugs for destruction? It's a yes or no answer. And if it's a no, you can say, I've asked them and here's proof. You did ask them. Because as matters stand now, all we have about a discussion on destruction, it's with the wrong person, Sitsedi. It's with that. So I'm asking you for a different person. I'm asking you to say, yes, we did. And this is how we did it with Amanzi.
Commissioner, upon my engagement, fully aware, like I say, she guided me. So,
On the 23rd of June, you were already asking Colonel Kuzwayo about destruction.
aware, my point, she was aware. The lab process is not that they just destroy it. They need to house it first, destroy it. They need to accept it first, destroy it. FSL Chochi does not destroy except their own. They have to liaise with Pretoria. So my hands, they have to accept it first before they destroy it and accept it.
No, you can't say that you didn't ask. You can say, I assume that because I know they don't have space, this is yet another case of an assumption. I'm asking you a direct question. And I think the answer to it is yes, you did not ask. But I would like you to tell me different. My question to you, apart from your discussion with Sitsedi, did you ask for a destruction of these exhibits that you are holding in Port Shepstone? Was such a request made to FSL Amanzi?
With my engagement with Kuzwayo, she was aware of.
How many engagements did you have with Colonel Kuzwayo and when? You're going to have to be specific because right now we have only the 23rd and it would be very curious, I think, to everybody that already on the 23rd you were talking destruction. So I want to suggest that you were not discussing destruction on that day. Otherwise you have enough explaining to do why the day after the seizure you are talking about destruction. So your engagement with Kuzwayo must have been on other occasions. You haven't, at least I don't remember reading your statement, coming upon many discussions with Kuzwayo about destruction.
I don't know exact times, and she was aware, like it wasn't informalized, it was all done.
But that's not how you asked for this, right? You've explained to us, it's prepared by, this is signed off by your...
That essay does not guarantee you are destroyed.
Saying it, but at the very least, it would have given us a record that a request was made to FSL destroy, and this is how they responded. They said they are not in a position to do this right because they don't have capacity. Give us that. Right now, we have your informal, you yourself call it informal. You have your alleged informal telephone discussion, undated telephone discussion with Colonel Kumalo that asked whether they can do this. And by the way, you've also said it's your call to you, actually your unit the power, whether they call you unit commander to do that. So it's not your discussion to have. So whatever discussion you have, Colonel Kuzwayo, it doesn't count. I'm asking you about doing it by the book. The book says you do a notice or a release form, whatever that form is called. It is what is given to FSL. You didn't do that, right?
It doesn't lab as...
That's why I say to you, then these drugs on your version were destined to be stolen. Their fate was to be stolen because that lab doesn't have capacity for this quantity. And yet you are talking to them. You are asking informally, Kuzwayo, when will you destroy it? When you know they don't have capacity, according to you. You know they don't have capacity. But you keep, which doesn't make sense, that you know they don't have capacity. That's what you tell us. You know they don't have capacity, but you keep asking, when are you going? Can you destroy, or however you framed it? You keep doing that. It doesn't add up. I'm sorry. It doesn't. You can comment. Thank you.
How many did you read? Because now you're not...
No, I didn't clarify. What the lab had been doing when a man's at work, they would then send up our case to either FSL Pretoria or to also when you inquired about your exit. So it's not, the onus is not on us. Our KZN lab was sending these labs because of, it's not on us contact those. This lab is aware of our problem.
It's simply, that was not, you said that it's both asymptotic or somebody to take this. So how do you say it's not other labs?
I know in the West, the formalized process is that our labs, either Pretoria or Manzim, to send, even direct us, they direct Western Cape.
So technically you say you are sitting duck. They don't have this data, you can't move. And if so, please tell the commissioners what or any document describes that DPCI cannot contact any FSL laboratory. I am thinking, why don't I name? I'm trying this system you now suggest in place. Is there
I'm not aware.
So somehow.
That's the lab, unfortunately.
Because my difficulty with that saying those drugs were stolen, attempted breaking. The West Amazon failed to get them off Colonel Jacob. Is that where we are? We are now blaming eventual theft. We couldn't store them, we couldn't take them, we couldn't do it. And your head. Is that where we are? So we're blaming. And as a result, therefore,
we're already.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, for the indulgence we have sorted out. We were of your contention. It's a notion, not direct. As a matter of to say, I have a 500 threat.
My
Brigadier. Now, did you tell Brigadier you escalated because you remember the Aduso or you?
I can't give a bait. We were on this boat. They destroyed the way of my.
No. Now what you're aware of, Amazon, this challenge, and as he knows, who can't send them to all West, also destroy them. Are you suggesting that was Brigadier News was your limitation about directing drugs somewhere?
Those were my challenges.
Hence my question to your challenge to Brigadier. What was conveyed?
Response, known. So I told try what are there. So it was, that's why hence his title. I'm myself to lies, but now in command, the Brigadier's word will hold more important, especially rather than Colonel, to call him and bypass me at that FSL in Mowed. Wasn't that Brigadier Newswa was well aware of the
now
Victoria person. This person that you were speaking, Junior, yeah, Shole. You say what is Shole?
Exactly, I know would normally.
He was not the final decision, so it's quite possible Brigadier Newswa spoke that in fact may well have you cannot discount. So as matters stay, but to surely do not have a record from your bureaus in any question.
I accept that facility.
Brigadier would know and know that when someone cannot, he would have known that officer carried more weight than my.
So, if I understand, we are now at a point where the fact that those drugs went first, Amazimdoti FSL to that, and now Brigadier Nyuswa contributed to that by failing to deal with the crisis we faced when you summary. Do you bear any blame for that eventual theft or form?
It's not clear from your statement. Did you, in whatever discussions you had, Kumalo, Kuzwayo, did you ask to send the exhibits to the FSL, or a case where you assumed, because you know that lab, assumed you knew that they would not have space?
Whether she could send me and did have storage. So Colonel Kuzwayo was fully aware of my wanting to store or her to accept those drugs.
I've looked at the statement and I'm looking at it quite quickly again. Nowhere, and I do apologize anyway that you say this and you can point to that. Nowhere in a statement where you discuss your discussion or your engagement with Colonel Kumalo Kuzwayo, nowhere that record that you asked her to take exhibits.
Sorry, before the
Be one of
not the commission statement.
Not the commission statement. Okay.
You may continue. I'll try and look.
Okay, yes. I will come back depending on the answer.
Thank you, Commissioner. In the meantime, the search for that particular statement will be undertaken. Now, we're considering potentially be held responsible for the eventual theft. This as we have it for failing the drugs when you stored and on it. The second is Brigadier Nyuswa, your superior, who failed to escalate the matter and deal with it as superior, including but not limited to bringing it to the attention of DPCI, the crisis down and 501 kilograms of destroyed, but there is finders. You indicated that you don't think you bear any. And by responsibility, I'm not suggesting for a second responsibility, the context of whether or not there were steps you could have taken. It's in that context. Now, in that context then, we settled in the morning that when you approach Brigadier New, the basic claim that was this not the moment, was that those very, for the first time now, you go to Brigadier New, my drug here, pay your advice and or inquire you, release my drug. Now I'm going all
thereafter, the Brigadier is the one who brought us again, it's informing us vice versa. I was the who had first informed. Then you assist. In this case, it's a place of the Brigadier is the one who informs the breaking. He's higher ranking. He seems the one that's more influence in terms of acquiring. So I felt that.
Maybe let me ask you a question. That is it not the responsibility of an investigator to secure the security of their exhibits? How does it?
In the normal course of, if I had seized exhibits, done a drug bust that I in possession of, no outside intervention, nobody assisted in finding alternate storage place. In a nutshell, I'm trying to say is that it was the decision restored in general.
Yeah, you're not investigating. Is it officer to secure for the security?
Only one way.
Forget this case for a second. Get that for a second. This is it or the responsible investigator to secure?
Normally,
yes,
an exception out of to find my area of operation, my involved in Durban. The challenges I have relate to commander. So I'm saying the onus would fall upon him. He's seen now attempted. The onus would fall on him, although I'm going to find.
You see, you made regional decision that this exhibit, that was your decision. We've established continue to much, but in Brigadier Nyuswa gets involved because you say, I now don't know what you've searched. I've run out of help, find me a place. So his intervention is to assist you, not to take responsibility. It's because you invited to assist you, find a place. And he says they can go to Port Shepstone. That's all he. That to me doesn't mean or doesn't reflect how responsible for those exhibits. Your earlier answer, and I think that it has to be you as the officer who's going to appear in court, if ever there's a court, and testify about the chain of evidence, about contained, where, when. You are the one that has an interest in the security of those. And to say that someone that you brought in because you needed them to help you solve a problem, accommodation, is now the one that makes sense about where these exhibits go, just doesn't, I don't think.
The drugs were stored, it was also outside the Hawks I offered. It falls squarely. So even if I want, it had to go, I would only adhere to anything regarding without.
What I have it with is, and I'm not suggesting that you should and you have moved these drugs again. I'm not suggesting that. But what I have is you washing your hands off responsibility of these exhibits once the decision was made that the safe place to Shepstone DPCI with that. And keep in mind, and a further problem that contributes to my, while these exhibits, as you have an IO is responsible, and it has to be that an IO is responsible for the security of their exhibits. In this entire process, everyone is coming in and out of Port Shepstone dealing with these exhibits. I know you say you don't know what. Everyone is dealing with these exhibits. They have a key, the key is sitting somewhere. They go and collect the pinning, they're taking stuff in, out, signing off. These are your exhibits. Something is deeply wrong if you say, I could do nothing about it, but I'm the investigating. Then I'm going to suggest to you that you chose not to about it. The question, why? Why would you be so to watch every running around, handling your exits? There's a report, there was an attempted robbery, a break-in. You do nothing about it. You don't even say to your brigadier, I would like them to be moved to another location. I've now found that. You don't even do that. These are your exhibits. So you either chose to do nothing or you were derelict to your duty as an investigating officer, and we must blame you for the loss on that basis, or you were afraid to tell your bosses that I want bullets to move. I'm not, and the question is the why. You may comment.
Difficult to engage on cause that want to, and I left it and changed during that period. That whole, but thereafter I would say it. He's the senior brigadier. He's aware of the set. Yes, and I would, as I did. Most I could try in the lab to try and get the ball it out of. I tried. I was not fined on a story. It was there at Port Shepstone. It was taken there. I left the ball in. Maybe I should have forced.
When he told you that there was an attempted break-in, did you say to him, maybe let's...
When he told me his engagement level, whether they did break in, whether it was taken, so I thought it serious, and yes, what I did to try and...
First, I'm worried and ask him, these are your kids worth millions. He tells you to tell us and ask him, as assumes it happened, coincidence. On a more serious level, quite concerning, investigate, ask him. But that's not accept the question. He told you, did you say, perhaps let's...
You know, sitting here, we did not understand foresight. I accept it. Not for the fact that these drugs were in, you were there. So many, and what we to understand, some Mbuyiseli, but you now have some...
Hindsight, yes, I phone, do whatever
I would take it a step further and how everything's done, because I don't want another point, only so I want you, we got so many...
I'll go as far as because of the lack, it had to turn out unsafe. So yes, I'll bear some responsibility to light. It was because of a senior police. It wasn't destroyed at his house or like that. It was a fault. Unfortunately, I'll say yes, I shoulder some of the could have taken. We have the benefits to some. Yes, I will shoulder some of the blame if I knew.
Lastly, you said something which bothered me. Warrant officer said anything. Reading that statement, prepare to accept that the two of you had a discussion. 5 exit tested. If there was variation, it was 5. Then, so to me, that seems like there was a small, and only if there are variation, if there's a big variation, then more. I don't want to hear. And yes, this part of 5 exit, others is not in his. He says, I wanted to draw it to you. I don't want. I accept it. No, I just wanted to you that is a mass. The big variation more.
Can I, looking at this statement, fairness, in that same part, he says, I responded by saying about destroying here. And he says, I responded by saying, if they are going to destroy the exhibit, where will the total mass of the whole... So it seems even from this discussion, he was concerned about all the lab being able to speak the total mass.
He was about
it. Seems.
This was, he told me, yeah, being every...
No, I'm saying, all I'm doing is I'm reading part of that paragraph where you have a passion. Commissioner Kumalo refers to point out that warrant officer said he does speak samples. That's the point. And my only reference is to say, well, in the same part, when he asked destroying the case, that's what he said. Responded by saying, if they are going to destroy that, where will the total mass, the whole...
There's no way I would destroy, or how can destroy it? I'm familiar, I've done this way, I'm going, how do I...
That part of his statement you're saying, we must disbelieve it.
Do say the concern was the total mass, but that has any some 5, if that is all the entire, not if it's not whether she was...
Before, just want Kumalo, who premise, because lack of storage, it's not because of storage. And there was, on the contrary, with wisdom of, you have to, I don't think we can give up less. My challenge on the issue of who is for drugs is that earlier, that when Brigadier Newswa to store them, thereby, my confusion then is when he tells you, why get yourself involved? Why do that's your bait, they're your drugs, FSL, to try and facilitate, unless...
You are correct.
No, here it's not about a crisis befallen them. There was your reaction was to then involve yourself, on longer your... Why did you do all that? Because that is against FSL and what was... Because you went from drugs...
He called me, follow up with...
So was that in his...
Investigate officer, and yet then as if Newswa was running that discussion, they are sitting, attempting how you respond, absence for response to the news. It's as if this is Brigadier Newswa's show, and we will ask him. So I think whatever answer you this, be assured that it's a matter. He will be whether once he had come assist you, and I use the word as you did, you called him to assist to find a place. Once you called and assist you, then sort of it's still that's now Brigadier Newswa's baby. Even when you hear that it's not a problem, I do have a fundamental accepting that was your understanding. It's a true reflection of your continued.
Once I say in a normal course of small normal, yes, this was a normal instance out of my control. It wasn't the powers acquire storage, although we've now established all. I'm saying once Brigadier New decision destroyed, it moves away from an area, it moves away from control. Yes, I bear before though, but without his say, go to the direct. He told me about the break. His words just follow up. So maybe I should explicitly said it. Okay, while I'm following up acquire, still no course of normal outside. So yes, I'm not.
Thank you. After
then going to Majola,
knowledge that you brought him on the chair find regarding, I'll say a member initiate seeking formal, if you are what.
Yes. Although I said did not say that, although we did not officially inquire, did all of them.
Yes, indeed. This is out. Yes. What is warrant Sibiya, so that CJC 26269 located in Colonel. You've seen before, but
Jones reference Brigadier Sibiya. I know.
References A, paragraph 4. First, I was then there last in yellow on. You say what? Thank you. I'd like to move on to, if we could go to for 475, and that is CJ39. JC39. This is a letter. I was saying that letter documented is dated 1324. It appears it is addressed to the serial. Just for the record, or was
Not sure why it's as far as.
but in that Brigadier News or was this is regarding warrant and his temporary placement and Graph 1 of the Sun. It has been that warrant as from before pending. First question. At this time, Sanda, when did you?
If I look at the date, it must have been on that date.
As his direct period, can you schedule
Firstly, I'll play.
the time he engaged or why
I did to ask him.
Were you-
He informed us that his allegations transfer. I had no.
active or passive? You are he stepped without.
Commissioner, give you an example. I failed.
Now,
This was a directive. It wasn't
Yes.
not he gave me.
Why is out at least an engagement meaningful
The way these processes work.
in the day you have?
Yes, I'm saying I don't have. It goes to an objective. That's out of it. Goes to a member who has no.
Were you not engaged in a meaningful
No, I was
by
not
anyone?
engaged. No, not in full way. It's told.
And if evidence were to you where it was not, or do you challenge such
You
evidence?
say an active.
It was you engaging with Major General Sino.
You know, like I said, went to Colonel. But during the course of career, my engagement here, and I won't go detail, but it's not only where we were asked informers, but I can say there was nothing damning that I had done in order to ensure that he stays. There's no action. These are allegations. We've had allegations. You guys know Durban. With regards to investigating this matter,
Evidence that you only been aware this after he placed it that,
you know, if I look at his date, I can't recall offhand whether engagements when it was transferred or prior.
but you say that's your only involvement.
With this, yes, with placement, yes. Going to go further to at some points, yes, we draft certain progress reports, but not more.
Warrant Officer Sanda said you were in the room when it's called a document was waved around that is this email which is making when that happened.
It would only be me as the
Well, I thought your only involvement this member and you saw. I thought that in fact, not that's what you say. Putting to that's not it. All you were in the room when when he called in, told being placed elsewhere. You're going to be placed elsewhere because. Is it true that you were in? You don't dispute. He says you were in.
Because
Indeed, I would expect to say I must have been in the if I don't have memory, not to start my only engagement. This.
No.
About so Colonel, what warrant officer says is that he then gets this when nothing is said to him, remains there, is moved elsewhere, and he only finds that our supposed investigation closed weeks. He was first moved. He found out, asked someone Port Shepstone, he said, and he was told they looked it up and referred. Now, accepting that as what happens of, are you saying whose long service with an experienced member in your unit who reports to you don't know, when is this invest? I'm one member short, an experienced member. You do not what is that what are you that scope?
if firstly I was informed.
He's under investigation because you were in the room when he was told. So it's no longer, you and I have cleared that you first us, you found out investigation engaged because we were wondering who a member where he is. That's not an accurate reflection of what happened. You were in the very room where he was told there are allegations. So so let's move from, your member, you were in the room when your member was, you become aware. From that, he gets placed elsewhere. My question accepts this true. He gets clear. In fact, that investigation gets shut down. He finds out much. I'm asking you, once any don't consider us, like what's happening, a warrant officer person, the money experienced person would have an interest in knowing where.
I was not aware that when I did get word from Mike because of it's over.
You found out to tell him whenever you inquired, there's nothing immediate. It's only writing that he complained has and the writing. No, the member find out, and he says long after he had been moved around, long after he went, and that's the only way to ever get feedback. That this in nothing. His answer was an tick. No, I never received anything in writing except for this. I never received allegations that were being investigated against me. I was told in a room that the email that came, never shown that in the room in which I never received anything, any report. It went quiet eventually. That's how I found out. Clear. So according to him, it didn't come.
Knowing.
You know, Commissioner, every would like to understand.
Let's not go there. For all you knew it.
But I'm saying, Commissioner, if you look at
for you to wake up and say, come and fetch, I will attend where I will be told that is 7:37. When you got up, you said, did not know that. All you knew at that point at a depot to say to
Commissioner, any get 5, not every day. The fact that I highlighted went off the normal. It doesn't really matter on the amount, the magnitude. But this, when I heard it's container, it's your to know that you're in part of it. And most of the time, it's container. That was my.
It all is one drugs.
And I'm going to add so enlightened. Drug bus went on in the absence. In down, but it's not the member himself that was prolific in terms of. It's a matter of getting the information, contacted crime. So he was not the be all and many competence.
No, I think the question. I thought. Can you please?
Commissioner, if I had a history bound and I'm somebody that never carries. Yeah, even Sachedi will tell you clan labs. I've identified clan labs. I love that action. I love it. I love being out on it. So if I was somebody that normally did, and now all of a sudden, while I'm start working, then I can agree. If you find out from whoever, I'm that type. So I know your other witnesses appeared before that we saw guys were office bound, went out. For me, that was totally not the case. I'm somebody, look at my clan lab speaks for itself. I may not be as a team of our other able to promote myself such a hero, but I've done what I need. And
You are actually, you hear me?
Say it again, Chair.
I'm saying you are actually very articulate.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Just made my day.
Thank you.
You chose warrant officer. Why? You have other members. Why?
When Pangase and I spoke, he walked around, was around. For anybody else, he told me, sure, but I told his KG, because I think in Carl Sanders, but anybody else was around. I can't recall exactly. And he worked out. We've got it closer. That's
Well, I ask you, his state, and remember the context because of obvious anomaly, loss of his drug. In his state, he says he has no experience. It's not so. That curiosity. Why would him? You don't say to find someone else. So I don't know if I know he was on leave, lost. So I'm not concerned. I'm concerned about you run a unit that has other members who do narcotics. Surely it's not just Pangase and Sand. Pick someone. Doesn't do this in the normal course. It doesn't make sense that away from the office. It's not as if you're walking down and you saw him. You're sitting in your house. Pick him by name. That's a great curiosity in the circumstance.
Commissioner, I'm going to disclose. I told you I was moving. And when I got back there, part of my problems of why I certain Saneb men, I know some were fair. So when I got back to organize, when this happened, most of those Saneb men, honestly, most of those guys there. So I saw for friends, whose guys of that standing, so that now we write on. It may sound silly, it may sound disclose the thing they ever in the scene. And I said I don't want, and that's when I made my choice of commission, no choice. So I'm saying I made it because I was not getting available, and that's what to those at the office who wondered why I chose to disclose it, because I knew they will.
So
wonder.
is Warrant Officer Mpangase, or was no longer the only Saneb member?
Maybe there was one.
Yes, and why did you not pick? Because they have experience. You're taking somebody on their own account to say, but this is not what I did. So you pick someone out environment, experience that, and it doesn't make sense unless you say, well, the only one I got along with Mpangase, so I pick somebody. And that's not what you're saying.
Commissioner, the role of any other who I was not that.
Yeah, but it could have been a member who's pliable and who will tell a story that you tell. For example, you all say ORS and customs were there. It may well be. So it's not as if, don't proceed on the basis that it's common course that you pick. An experienced member may well have told you, we cannot move these drugs from here at the harbor. So do not do it's of no consequence, because it is of consequence. So the answer of they would have played a minimal role, no, that's not a good answer. Give an answer, why did you not pick an experienced member in your team that you get along with? Yes. I'm prepared to accept maybe pettiness. Excuses you not Sanders or the most experienced members in accept that, and I don't quarrel with that. You got along with others who are on duty, who it is their everyday job to do operations as. You go and pick a junior, your description, a very junior person who, according to you, it doesn't matter. They're there. It's not as if they're going to play a critical role. You choose to do that. That does require an explanation, especially in an operation that goes so horribly wrong, where you come in from leave, you go away, you remain involved in the matter, you come back, bad decisions are made throughout in the handling of these exhibits until they're stolen. You have to have a better answer about why this person who's ignorant about these, why it's suspicious, give an answer.
Also, I can't tell, but it was that time of the morning where it was out on investigation. So if Pangase had suggested, I would have chosen them. There was no special behind my.
You know, in your evidence, you have said when your commander speaks, that's what you've said. And that's how you've excused your failure to. You say, well, my commander decision has told me we are going, Port Shepstone has not moved the drugs. That applies to you and Pangase as well. You tell him, you don't ask him. You don't say, who's in the office? And then he gives you a list of names and then you actually name the person. So your answer has to premise. The premise of your answer has to be, you made the choice. You told Mbanga who to open on your view that you take about the authority of the words of your superior. Of course, he was going to follow your instruction to find Sibiya. So don't blame Mbanga for anything to do with this choice. It's all on you. And you have to give a satisfactory on these facts. On another day, it may not matter, but we are dealing with an operation that's horribly wrong. And so you have to explain all your decisions and satisfactorily explain your decision, including why Sibiya, who has nothing to do with the kind of work that you...
Mayor,
if it enhances your answer about Sibiya, it's just relate, and it doesn't, don't, because it's of no value whatsoever.
I want to understand work in SAP. When you are, is no one up?
There would have been.
Now, any challenges were experienced after he took over allowed it?
Appropriate.
Otherwise,
it happens. You start the process. Now you follow up really.
I just want to all the I accept that happens all the time, and maybe that is nobody seems so even affected immediately undermined. That's what happened. As an aside, have you commented?
May have some. I can't. There's nothing. Sure.
You wouldn't suggest
Different intakes, different phases. So I'm not sure.
referring to sign him, a core member is,
Well, that's
and he wasn't.
evidence.
However,
What I can, I've
not asking it,
yes,
just you have to
very
find out
clear,
why.
It's not.
You know that you find out went wrong. Level of you have that engagement. We will try again. I never.
That's why I'm saying that the most I can do is recommend to that if it's out of my.
Oh, I thought he was
Yes, but where the applied for.
chair. Those are.
Colonel, just to clarify an aspect I might have missed, and it's on different. The first is when you go to ECP, you say something's bad. Can you just say what happened? So there was nothing. Do you consider phone, because I'm assuming you accept that is soonest possible. You are at a police station, the SAP. Do you not consider phone other state if they have so that?
There's no real go-to to our exec clerk. Just to let you know, we have that.
No, I'm asking about this operation.
Yes, no,
you are, because in your statement you don't say that you called up the instruction, the police station. So I'm questioning that you tell us there were no different versions. A paramount came up. Happy with your version, and he said it. The question is to do things now you're not rushing, precinct to police station. You haven't said the risk of anything when you do this quick. Why did you not phone a request right size so they brought to you? Or you be told we don't? Why did
I understand because by that time the guys are bags and 5. But based on that, this time as we've crossed that, we here at Isipingo they don't have space. So now my next step is chosen, and I pangas in bags.
you did that well knowing and understand that you should be begging them at ECP before their vehicle Port Shepstone. You knew that you can beg as a matter of rule or law or be begged.
No.
We know there were no bags. We know that for a fact. So I'm not about where they were. We know they were not. So my discussion with you is about why did you not phone around? I think you explained earlier why it is asking you important as it essential. Why do you not phone around? Because you're not rushing anywhere. There's no risk of the things that you said moving from the depot. They are non-existent at DCP. So if you like the luxury to phone around, hopefully you did not do. Yeah, but you can't. I think it's worse. I think stop there. Do not say it's consuming. It's worse with that. You did not, and you accept you should have. National instruction requires you to back these things. Except you should have elsewhere before you. In your relating to that, in your statement here, you arrived. You went into the police station. Your statement also say so. There's a window where you lost sight of these exhibits that are not back, not yet in an SAP 30. You lost sight of. There's a window. There has to be. They started unloading them. You went. So in that you have sight. So you wouldn't know any exhibit may have, or would you? And if you say, I will explain why.
Not every.
I'm talking about this. I'm going to say, if LCRC had been on the scene, there would have been eyes while you go in. They've waited. You should have waited. I want to suggest that you should not, as the leader of that, you should not have lost sight. Proposition I'm making to you, and it has to be to say yes, correct. And I say to you, in the time that you left to go and exhibit anything could be those, you wouldn't. So if Warrant Officer Sibiya took a break, you wouldn't know.
I would.
And then you also say, and we are still at. You also say, so you get it. Where the ORS? Where are they? You say in your and I want you say in your statement that they were present. You all did.
You know, when I say there were 4 or 5 were present, enough to know more or less.
What does that mean? What inspect?
When we flowed from, we placed all those bags were open, offloaded in piles. Not sure how many were offloaded present. Could have been all of them. Maybe all of these bags were.
So the bags offloaded, loot, and out of the bag. Did you say
they were there when impact? Majority was 1 bag. The ORS guys, remember, they also I see, but they didn't count. Maybe they didn't bags. Maybe they were not there when the tally that time they were there when they were offloaded. Enough to was 20.
You see, his warrant of the governor says we arrived. The bags say the same thing that you say. Reflected. Yes. If you look at under tab
at 779.
Are you at 77?
Because Commissioner, I just want to point out this is not the sergeant.
Well, I'm looking at 01. Which is governed. It has his signature. That's the one that you've got another. You say in the last paragraph it says Colonel Gavin SAPS. We then transported the 27 bags. He's not there yet. I'm so sorry.
Yes. Okay, Commissioner, I just want to.
Sorry, say that again.
Yeah, because I did.
Perhaps wait for.
No, where she's.
That's the problem.
You can refer to another statement if you want to, but this is this is the statement that I'm referring to where he said offloaded them at the area and we left it and drove back to continue with us. So on this statement, they didn't stay beyond the vehicle. You make them more present than what is describing here. You say the bags were offloaded, we opened them, we took the bricks and we were lining them. We're still there.
Commissioner, once again, as I started obtained by, to me, all of this in government IOP. He says otherwise. These statements, I can't say what I've known trend at all of the way. I've got a statement filed that the same are very. So you could take another statement, what Joel said to the record, why I didn't present.
No, you had made him.
I'm saying I did that in error because when I did point being.
Are you saying he made? Is that what you're suggesting? Yes, he said you can. But maybe before you do that, signed state. So that describes the testimony and the statement. That
it's
other
page
state.
the one you. So keep your finger on one of those.
May I read paragraph 5? Sergeant Ize and I, together with other DCI members, transferred these black bags, H1 marked state vehicle that I was driving. I counted 27 such bags. We were escorted by Lieutenant Colonel Jacob, Isipingo CHC, where we assisted offloading the black DPCI members. He counted the yellow and black cocaine, and we left it. From my observation, each bag contained, we then left it.
You say that?
It says that he noticed that's what he approximately each bag. Commissioner, I want to further add that no involvement, not right up to say what they.
You see, I raised it with the. It's not. He's saying you. That's what he says. But you're saying completely. You say seeded to Kane with the border police. Yes. So you involve them in that.
And like they may not part of the they were.
He says he left when you were counting that you referred to assist you. It says he left when you were. Your statement says he was involved with the county. Do you not see and understand the border police? No, long today's you. Stay counted the border member. That's what you convey. My English is not that bad. Trust me, it's not that bad. Convey in that you counted with the border police members. That's what that line says. And until one reads something different, the only meaning yours and Governor and his were involved were part of the count. And Governor says in the one statement he says we offloaded the bags and we left. He says the same thing in more words. In the one that offloaded the bags and left when the police were. So he doesn't include himself. And then lastly, can I? And the one is just to make sure in the exhibit Shepstone from that did not have anything. You never can know what's in that room, how many are in the room, never walked to check, nothing. You had nothing to do with the physicals in the end until they were stolen. Your last engagement with the physical items was at Sibiya. And then lastly, I promise you, I don't understand that you to say that you read to the container the 1st of June. And it's not clear. So it's not clear to me why you returned on the 22nd. You got consignment. You were told 27 weeks. It's 27 bags. You're all happy and good. In fact, says left. He's happy. You're done. When you go back, you say why? And remember that your evidence. You also container.
We see. I think I explained. There were 5,000 bags, which confirmed the packing. If I had noticed that there were 10 kilogram bags, 5 kilogram load. If there were 10 bags short, then it would draw them that it's possible the consignee knew about because they're supposed to be a certain. Now there are 10 bags short, amounts to the weight that cocaine was. Remember, containers it as well. So that's the purpose of further. Firstly, drugs. Secondly, the packing response consignee. So it's purely for that. That's the only reason.
The reason I ask and that I'm still confused and not clear about would go back because in the way that you explained it there, it looks like you just went to bus. You had a paper which tells you the supposed bag, and then you're not customs, you're SAPS. You go back to verify that indeed there's 539 bags, and from that you're satisfied. You got it. It doesn't make sense. Something doesn't make sense that you would go back just to go and count the bags. Yes. You are looking for cocaine, counting the bags and finding that there are 5395 doesn't tell you anything. So you took them out. You took the bags out and inspected. Is that what you're saying?
Not. In fact, those bags were such as you're handling. You can see it.
So if there's a few bags, you don't have intel. There's more, right? So you're a random police officer who is searching. You now tell us in your statement. Don't say. Explained your statement. Proceeded to CHC depot. I had arranged the clearing present of the animal. They amounted to 5 and 5 for a packing list. This further, the container was then officially. So on your own state, after all you did on the scene makes sense. Police ought to go back to a container only to go and count how many bags there. And the paper, it says 5 and 5. They're good. That doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense. It doesn't seem like sensible police conduct and use of the very list. It doesn't seem to. And so let me put to you that it suggests to me at least, because it doesn't make sense, it suggests to me that there has to be another explanation for this. Either appearances of you knew you got the 27 bonus bag. You thought it was bricks. 27. You knew you went there for another. Here you tell us I can't say that doesn't the bag. And then I want to suggest that best on the most charitable possible explanation, you went back for appearances when in fact there was no investment. You were collecting these drugs were always destined to be stolen. You knew that. You knew there's a plot about these drugs, and now you were just going through the motions so that you can show up a diary and say, see, we were doing an investigation. We were serious about this. That's what I suggest it looks like.
That's your regards to stance on that.
I'm saying that's what it looks like.
But
keep in mind, we don't have evidence here of other instances. If you want, you can file all the other instances supported where that is the practice. Right now, I'm working off what you have told us, statement, it doesn't make sense to me what you say in the state. And then I try and answer to the why would this doesn't real reason he went by land. Given the facts of the time you opened Sibiya joined, you spoke to Newswa and not you made the decision unsatisfactory, explain decision, move these exhibits, the depot, Isipingo, that you allowed these things to move without being bagged, without being sealed, be transported. Port Shepstone, your failure act to speak the very least, Commander, when he tells you that the sampling that doesn't make sense, dear to sample and how it is conducted, that by telephone you tell Mbangase was a warrant officer to get a sample, send it to a discussion steady about destroying the exhibit before the failure invoke authority of your superior to get you lab attention, deal with it, and finally your failure to even speak, excusing yourself by saying, well, it was his, ask him to try and do something. All of that, all those and more suggest semblances, any appearances contained it. You and I agreed yesterday we shouldn't take things a reconstruction of facts and misrepresent dates of entries where we know that we didn't know we testified. So nothing that is here in that dialogue suggests my gained is recorded. Detention was not a rules about release it, and the SARS, you say I didn't know it. All of those facts, they lead me. Your was again of a scheme impression that there wasn't at all. That's the last thing I get to say.
Commissioner, once a norm to entitled more than, but I will stand for assembly, compare my inquiry with every will notice as much. Commissioner, I would have thought that familiarized themselves with a red flag, verified. It's a
I've invited give us a state that sets us that procedure because we've listened to many witnesses. Drug busts is explained. Participate the first, and maybe that's why I spent that I hear or that anyone we search and then to search again. So invite, feel free to file a further statement that sets out that where that procedure verbal practice. You tell us, and then you list cases where order texts show you reject, and it's only fair to file it.
May I ask?
Oh, I thought you were close.
Thank you. It's just on one view. The number of questions will depend on your response. Colonel, this relates to what you say in paragraph. The statement there, you say Umla is 11 kilometers away from the depot, which I saw as a risk, and we work in an uncovered area of the. And my sense, I think, when you substantiated it clear that you feared that people from Umla might send, possibly take away the drug. That was my sense.
Yes, it's always a political.
So I'm correct. I assume that there must be quite a lot of search and seizures. Surely this was not an isolated.
The ones I'm aware of, and this.
But surely it could not have been. It just could. I'm saying I would be very surprised if this was the only search and seizure at CHC depot, even if you yourself are not aware of any. I would be very surprised.
No, they
ought to have. Now, in your experience, have people from Umlazi ever descended on a crime scene and forcibly taken whatever it was that was discovered at the crime scene? In your experience,
the volume.
Okay, that's the first part. Second part.
So it's only. So
I'm saying you said you're going to answer my question. Second part of answering me. Sorry.
I lost you.
And I'm happy that I did not disturb you. You lost it on your own. All right, but that was not my question anyway. My question was: have people from Umlazi ever descended on a crime scene at the CH depot and removed whatever it was that was discovered when a search and seizure was? Okay. Now, so your fear was based purely on surmise, pure surmise. There's a township close by, and those people from the township just might come here and forcibly take this suspected cocaine from. Mere surprise. People from the township up on the hill. I happen to know where Mlazi is.
Commissioner, that's always a real concern of any. There's always fools in every part.
Isn't there a residential area? I think there's a residential area before you go up and reach Mlazi. Up at the. Isn't there another residential area? Yes, there is. So you suspect the people from Mlazi are not the from Isipingo?
Not profiling, but it's known. It's a high risk area. Chair, I'm saying every attack that ever happened, I don't.
You know. People who deal in substances like cocaine, heroin, and all that are usually the so-called sophisticated people. So your fears and so on, and because part of your suspicion seems to be based on the quantity. So that must mean that you thought that the people from Umlazi just might get wind of the fact that there's this big bust here. That's true of the people in Isipingo as well. And as I say, the so-called more sophisticated-looking people are, by and large, that are involved in. Or am I also profiling?
Chair, what I would think, when all at some point, then we all will. I won't go in depth.
But the important point is that you are not able to say that people from Umlazi ever descended on CHC to forcibly remove drugs or any other thing discovered in a bus or after a search and you went to. That's important. So you just assume that the people up on the hill just might pierce the mind. Now, that's one of your. You just remembered something. Oh yes.
I'm saying every attack that ever happened, whether it be on rob for firearms or carrying, was at some stage not heard of. Every attack or any type of they had to. So although it may not, it's a risk they consider because there's certainly attacks, certain robberies on police for the firearms and things that the first in that area, the first for a certain scenario. So as much as it had not before, I can't say that there's no risk of it happening based on the values exhibit, and more especially, Chair, like I said, compounded by the fact that I didn't have enough bags. The station was only 4 kilometers. Those were my mind, and I agree with you. I can't say why.
And you are not aware of an attack since?
No, I'm not.
So meaning that if you are the one to conduct a pass, you will always in the vicinity of Umlazi, you will always conduct it differently because you are fearful. Yes or no? So whenever you are involved, you'll go there, quickly remove the drugs and take them wherever you consider safe. Maybe it's bingo. Yes.
And we go into education.
Yes.
We go with rifle.
Then that raises another question. Exactly that one. That's not an answer. Why did you not do that on this occasion as well? You just call Mbanga, say that's one person, and you say, hey, is KG there? And KG happy there. And then it was just the three of you. And yet you know, as you sit there and as you say now, that the proper thing to do is to go to a crime scene like this. You're not going to a crime scene involving maybe theft of a case of beer. No, it's a crime scene involving cocaine, drug bust, serious crime. You do not go there with the necessary manpower. Did you have a reason for not doing so?
Chair, I think if I was
No,
at the
did you
office-
have a reason?
Because I was-
What on earth does that?
If I was at the office,
Because to get power, even if you are not physically at the, there's the convenience of a telephone. You could have made calls and you could have spoken to someone who could, if you could not do it yourself, someone who mobilized the necessary resources. Sure. So you've not answered my question. Then why do that? Why did you not make sure that you had enough resources in terms of police? You knew that you were going to a drug bust. You knew that. And it was so important to you that you said that I came out of leave. Quite important. Each and every police officer. It's an ego boost. I'm paraphrasing, but that was the essence of what you said. It's something quite crucial. And leave aside the ego boost. This is a drug bust. Again, it's not going to a crime scene involving the theft of beer. It's something quite serious. Why did you not mobilize and get other police officers so that you would not be concerned about Mlazi? Because my sense is that had you had enough police resources, you would not have cared about Mlazi. Am I correct? So why did you not organize to secure the area? Surely I find that difficult to believe, because that would have been the first thing you say once I started engaging you. I'm asking this question now for the third time. I find that very hard to believe.
Also, but I know there is why they.
But are you saying that I know that the technical team is a specialized team, but are those the only police officers that could have given reinforcement? Are those the only ones? Do you not get resources from other police stations when it's necessary? And, sorry. And you had maybe saying luxury of time, but you actually container was going to be spirited away from the city depot, so you could have others to get the necessary manpower. Could you not have? Why did you not do it? So it's not an excuse to say that your own at Isipingo were not at it, gone on whatever. So that's not an answer. Why did you not reinforce from FT? So you don't even try. You go there, it's you, it's Mbangase and Sibiya. So that's your choice. And you know that Mlazi fear is close by. You choose to do that instead of trying to get reinforcement. Because you never know. Trying reinforcement, for all you know, is you can't say try. It's not a case of getting reinforcement. You do for effect. And add to that what I said earlier is that in ends you had the luxury because if that committed away. So you just rushed in with three people. One of them, as Commissioner Baloy indicated, knows nothing about this sort of operation. Just three of you rushing. And then Patch being assisted by the ORS chance. No. Now you are talking about what happened. I'm engaging you about what happened. Let's not go. And my sense is that you had no reason. Let's forget about this thing about it's not a 15-minute thing and so on. You basically had no reason. Tell me about it. So back to my question. So you choose not to try. I will leave it at that. I'll leave. Now, from where I'm sitting, it seems to me that Mlazi was not really because you either ought to have got or tried, and if it was to be it would only be you had tried, failed, and then you say, I'm here, Mlazi here, I fear I must. Otherwise, that situation that you are fearful of is self-created in the sense that you have not taken necessary steps to ensure that you accept. Now, add to this thing about the fear of Mlazi not making sense to me. What I want to add to that is, yesterday when I engaged, you accepted that you could have had the container removed, because when you were engaged by Sildo, you said didn't have much space on the door side of you said it was only 2 meters and that was a lot of whatever it was behind. So just 2 meters from the doors. When I engaged you yesterday, you accepted that you could have gotten the container moved to some other area within the CHC depot, and that once there, you could have done the necessary cordoning off and then could have been able to conduct the search and seizure in a proper manner. Do you remember accepting that? So when you look at those two issues, the fact that the Mlazi issue does not make sense, which right at the tail end of you said, accept everything that I'm saying. So when we look at the fact that you could have removed that container and then you could have been able to do the search seizure properly with no impediment, makes all the other reasons that you gave pale into insecurity. Do you accept that? You accept that? Thank you very much.
Provide a statement explaining where you go back container in the manner that I think it will help you, that it might not use particularly. We tried. We see at 5 July 5,300. Are you aware that in none, you in that exercise of
because yielded nothing over container, there was nothing to write us about. Not done.
You were not handing over. You were searching. You were counting. You went inside. That's how you get inclusion. There are 575 satisfied you, and you are alleged. So you did something to engage with former. I'm saying you have about 5 in the inquiry all before. None of the references. Okay. Whose benefit does it serve?
That's
Why?
what I'm saying.
Who does it benefit? It benefits you because you are aware. Presence on the pier that day, the depot, will have to somehow be answered at some point, and you are anticipating. This is why you include it here. You go so further, so much, tie in the mega freight clearing agent in that exercise of July. Yet, that is one person. If this happened, and if he was pregnant, but you never did. So what exactly went down on that? It's something you substitute, and you think to lay it.
I mentioned the clearing is present.
Let's go to the clearing
agent. Did I fabricate or I imagine?
He's got a statement here. He says, I was never.
No, he was.
Oh, so he's not
Well,
telling
what
the
does his statement say? Get it out.
You will find, let's go to page 595. That statement 595, the first earlier one, dated May 22, and he doesn't reference that visit.
He asked the commission.
I don't know. I didn't drop them.
Then I can't answer. I'm saying he was there. The statement doesn't.
But you
report
never
to
asked him because he's not in your doc. He's
I
not in
didn't
your
need a
inquiry.
statement. No, I don't agree. Yes.
Now let's go to 654. Let's go to page 6. At page 654, the same person, that mega freight, at paragraph 3 states, I was not aware of the inspection that allegedly took place at the CH container depot on the 1st of July 2021, as I was not informed. Don't suggest that I made him say.
Commissioner, the warehouse manager confirmed what I'm saying. It wasn't just installation.
Okay, now that is the challenge, and that is why I say when you say to Baloyi, that is Miss Pillay, right?
Yes.
It does sound, what I say is exactly as, there is not if a document calls going down. For that, we will go to Miss Pillay. So let's go. At 577 is Miss Pillay's first statement. If you go to 578 at paragraph, she says on the 1st of July, these members were present. An official from Mega Freight was unnamed. This is dated the 6th of July, 2021. And this is a statement. The statement you don't take is off that Mega Freight.
Yes.
Now, if you go to 654,
Yes.
let's go to 654, and it's Miss Pillay 55. That's Miss Pillay's second 5. Look at that statement at 13th May, less than a year later. And in this statement, she says, it's a further statement. She references, it speaks of your visit on the 22nd. She doesn't.
Once again, the statement on canvas.
Take that to be. I am saying third yet, Pillay outed. But in the interim, I want us to go to the investigation. In your investigation, this is the you made, page 803. You at the bottom of page 803 against the date 1st July 21. Second, you have linked there. You say you went with Mpangas. Second, flower day of Mega. But that's the one person. Yes. And gets back to the issue in the morning at 04. You say at 7. You even claim you read here. That's the third. You couldn't explain whether. But your investigation diary suggests reseal, which is not true.
If I wrote the container was.
I asked where in all your statements and all during your inquiry you consistently provide two seal, the original seal number container, the second seal number that you replaced the first after, but then you went and opened on the 4th of July. That's what we with this one. On the 1st of July, did you resell? It was the Rick Maro. You didn't remember me. Then you have said no, because you are releasing the container. Your investigation diary. Okay. So I am saying this point makes the point that this investigation diary absolutely. I agree with it's manufactured fact in all this diary post fight, and I'll tell you why I say it as well. Let's page 2. Yesterday we discussed 24-hour inspection that you have at 203, and before that's stated by you. Thereafter, the next one is at page 807. That is prompted by you, the investigating officer. Above at 807, you have in the 30th of July 2021. You say Lieutenant Colonel Nandlal said inquiry for inspection. Then you go further at 808. There once again it's you inspect midway, and then somebody here, the name is clear, doesn't. And beyond that, you never your last subject inspection to you on what is.
Commissioner, I'm trying to understand.
This is inconsistent. I gave you the example presented today when you cannot. You note you receive.
Firstly, I could not have imagined for 5,000. Secondly, the warehouse manager's statement. Nobody even asked her about the 1st of July. She merely 22nd of June. So how can you consider that statement of what transpired on the 1st of? I did meet. I'm sure even his call or with his phone records or find out with the warehouse manager about whether it's occurred. Because remember, he had to come through with staff, with labor, physically unpack 5,300. It couldn't have been me and DPCI. They had done. So if I say he was there, he was there. The warehouse manager is not confirming anything. She's silent when she wasn't asked. But I'm saying if I wrote the representative Flower Day, Mega Freight was here, this was the unpack that was done. And the reason I could remember whether it was resealed, this was for nearly 5 years. I can't remember every. The fact now that I'm being painted, I'm lying about this entire incident, I take seriously. Okay. And I feel the onus should not be on me now to prove that I'm the onus commission. If you are alleging that I am lying, the onus should be on the commission to prove that. So far, what you have showed me is a statement from the warehouse manager, not even talking about the 1st of July, what happened. Obviously, we would have had to go through the warehouse manager to make so that statement has been.
Now,
Chair, I can't even recall, the bottom line. The warehouse manager ought to have been contacted. contacted, confirming occurred as per the investigation team that had theft who alleged I'm lying in diary? Should they not have contacted him Flower and asked if he was there on the day? Should they not have checked his phone records to see if he was at the airport? Should they not have checked my view if I was there? Now I'm being painted to the whole country as though I'm a liar, I'm fabricated. Seriously, there's a whole lot of investigation that was done that clearly swayed in a certain direction. Every time statements were taken, it's taken with a view of portraying the light as though I was part and parcel orchestrated container in Port Shepstone and the subsequent theft. And I'm showing the commission how statements were taken. Individuals were not canvassed on certain. Now we can't sit here today and I'm saying I was with a certain warehouse, and you take a statement from a warehouse manager and nobody sees fit to ask her this seems to occur on that day. But now I'm being told I'm lying.
Maybe they did. You have any 20 seconds. You say, I guess I'm higher test. You have material in test. You say you were there. You has inquired it.
Commissioner, I'm going to put this in layman. If commission is alleging it's never, there's no such, at least should have been asked, did you attend CHC? And also, the warehouse manager, yes, I took a statement where she's not sure how it talks about the 1st of July. So now it's the narrative of the commission that I somehow just fabricated my back. But should she not have been by an objector to ask her indeed on July, was there such? I'm sure something must be on the system. Mega Freight must have a record of what transpired on that day. Now for today, to portray me to the country as though I'm lying, I fabricated this, it shoots down my entire credibility and integrity. And I feel this is an act because it did occur. Nobody asked these individuals to go to CHC in July. But I'm being told now that it never happened. There's no such statement. Did anyone even try to obtain a statement?
I do apologize. You are making assumption that nobody, it's a wrong assumption. She wasn't. Explain it away some other way, but don't say that nobody would to ask, test the correctness for that, go to 607. Then overleave 608 at the statement of, and at paragraph 2, you see she references a request by Captain Mashau to give further about paragraph 7 in my previous, is that where she says, members of Hawks official was present, they indicated to verify that when the members had finished, container was placed on the, that's what she's about 2 weeks after the siege. She doesn't say, who she doesn't give it, she doesn't do.
Does the
No,
investigating
it's in that context you must have 2 because it requests further clarity. Now, her response follows. I really who came to on the 1st of July to verify list. It's been long since 1st July 21 to can safely say who were the members because on the day in my statement, now my understanding is she doesn't even have a record of her memory in October 2025 and say, let me go and see that where this, because I, on my part, would expect to have had an regarding this, that it was on the these Hawks in the, to have identified in that document the mega references. And lastly, to provide the, of the seal was then placed there. She says it, what page 607 tells you that she's beyond, because she's got, there is, my conclusion, no objective tool help.
Saying, or have you moved on?
No, paragraph 7 is in our statement. That 7 is, this is the statement by Colonel Jacob. So Colonel Jacob suggesting that she was never asked. And I'm saying it's a statement that requested her response only says so. I lean from.
I know you brought up a specific point, the question whether this had been raised. So indeed does it. But what's your claim?
I make over no paragraphs not. When she provides somebody response exercises over commercial containers, would I go what container which I'm going to give me the name of the mega agent, the detail of the seal to all that I don't.
Hawks members.
And that is
because she's I came. So Hawks, and if that is what this
no, but
about
no, Chair.
Also,
this is now part of the investigator. It is the investigator that received amongst the statement. Please provide me details. She then files it, and I say my challenge the fact that official does the record because I take it in charge. Save entry that would identify those members placed. All this confirm a very blunt statement. Commissioner Baloy, so on when she second statement, she has independent recollection of this particular visit. She doesn't mention. She only mentioned the statement, and that is what I believe prompted investigator with the one. Let me go to her and give her a further one. And it takes them. And in fact, it was not directed as to the. I am saying the inference I draw what went down. Nobody, notwithstanding the fact that Colonel Jacob's own diary says we reseal. If you give me the details of nobody. That is that day, and what was recorded is very poor. It's what creates this.
Before you ask your next comment on the.
Once again, Commission, you guys have capacity to see what I'm saying. Can you see who took?
I'm laughing at the reference to us as.
Chair, you can see who commissioned the statement, right? Who the statement. Does anywhere in the statement they even ask this warehouse manager, did Mega Freight present it? All the statement says is she can't recall when Hawks came there. Nothing further. This is the quality. This is the string that the theme that runs throughout this entire investigation towards myself. Shoddy investigation, statements that are vague. This tells us nothing, but it seems to be the reason I'm being called out as a liar. This tells us nothing. Why couldn't someone approach the guy from Mega Freight himself, who I claim was there? And let's hear what he has to say. Nobody's canvassed him on it. It's a vague statement, and now I'm being painted as untruthful or a liar. And like I'm saying, if commissioners, you can see the statement. What sort of a statement is this? It talks to what I've been saying. But all this entire investigation, there's one central. They've already got a predetermined conclusion in mind, and every statement that has been taken, we don't expect statement of this quality from DPCI. Statement of this quality. I may have messed up my crime, at my statement. I try and put some content into my statement. These statements here, especially investigating the theft of over 200 million rand drugs, and now to tell the that I am involved based on shoddy investigation like this, I'm just expressing my dissatisfaction.
The agent was provided a
But he was not asked, sorry, Commissioner, I'm saying, was he asked about the 1st of July? His statement tells me nothing about the 1st of July.
If you go to 665 date, 27 at paragraph.
Yes,
at paragraph, I was mentioned that.
You know, seriously, this is not of time. I feel he was confused maybe of the day of the search, because this was taken in 1975, the statement. If you look at it, it's taken by the same individual that I claimed to. So now, he must be, because he's talking about, I was not aware of the inspection that allegedly placed at a CHC container. It's probably confusing inspection where we recovered those. Not
the first.
Yes, I'm saying, yes, Commissioner, I hear you. I'm saying it was, the statement was taken in 2085. He probably does not remember that the 22nd of June was the date of the recovery. The 1st of July is the day that he came to for an, because you see, he talks here, I was not aware of the inspection that allegedly took place at depot on the 1st of July, right? I also attached the process.
Well, remember you said your complaint, you said the statement, they didn't even to simply at his statement the 1st of July.
Yes, I'm saying this, Commissioner. This statement is taken 27th October 25, the very statement that I am is always taking shoddy. So if I read this, I'm going to read it, right? I was not aware of inspection that allegedly took place, paragraph 3, at the CHC container depot on the 1st of July 2026, as I was not informed. I also attached the process that will follow in case a container is being detained for action. As the cargo stop agency, I must be contacted if the client container is detained. So he's talking about the actual day of our search of that container, the 22nd of June. I put it to you, to the commission here, that if this individual is engaged, he was either misled somehow, but if you read this, you can see clearly talking of the date of the seizure of those drugs.
May I ask, because I just made you zero, it was
Yes.
that I was in the date.
Yes.
But let's test what you are saying by looking at paragraph.
Yes.
Paragraph 2 says that either that I would like to further my statement. So there's a statement.
Yes.
Then he proceeds. I only attend inspection of container drugs at CHC on 24th June 2020. So in paragraph 2, there's a addition that the actual seizure. In paragraph 3, deals with specific different, which is the 1st of. So he appears to have an appreciation.
I respond.
Yes.
There was nothing happening. So my submission is this. You see in paragraph 2 where he says, I only attended the container that was found with drugs, the CHC warehouse container depot, 24th of June 21. See attached, right? The way I read this, he was confused. He's talking, instead of 24th of June, they're supposed to read 1st of July. And later on, he's supposed to, they got the dates mixed up. Because if you read it in context, what I'm saying makes sense. I'll leave it and read it. And I'm saying it's my submission that paragraph 2 is supposed to read the 22nd of June instead of 24th of June, because that's the date of the seizure. And this other date here that he's got to inspect the 1st of July. No, I think the statement, because it was taken in so many years later, at 85, he got his dates mixed up. And the statement is, if you look at it in context, it does not make sense. What happened on the 24th
No,
of June?
Colonel, there's no mistake about the date. You have accepted, at least you're not testing. He wasn't there on 22nd. Context, this is a further state, early to the one state, where he said, you open container present. So
He says on the 4th.
no, there's an earlier statement where he has said, I wasn't there. Here, this is a further, so
Yes.
we know that. And then he says, I only went the 24th. You were not there. So you don't know.
Yes.
He says, this is a further. He's not making a mistake. Otherwise, if we accept what you're saying, the mistake, then and you say instead of 24 into 2, then it means he was there on 22nd. He wasn't. The Flower Dale wasn't there. You have lived was there. The depot, don't shake your head. You've told us the depot, ORS, and your depot, and the person that you thought was cleared is there. So that's on Banga's diary. There's no mention, the 22nd being there. So where she says 24th as there, he couldn't be referring 22nd. He's no mistake. So this is a further statement. The first that says, I wasn't there. You didn't quarrel with,
Yes.
you didn't know. If you quarrel with, where he says the 20th of June, he's not saying on the day of your inspection. He's not saying, you say, he tells us, new fact, he went there. We don't know what he's, I went there. And then in July, he says, well, aware, really, he claimed his file is what do we.
Commissioner, calming myself down, I'm going to try and express myself and understand. There's nothing that had me fought on to say that at CHC warehouse, it says here, I only attended the inspection of the container that was found with drugs at CHC warehouse on the 24th of June 20, right? No, I didn't engage with 24th of 21. None of my. Clearly, there's some confusion with, because nothing. Then he goes on in paragraph 3 to say, I was not aware of the inspection that allegedly took place at the depot on the 1st of July, as I was not informed. Now, firstly, he's got the date. Now, at the bottom, we've got the same captain obtaining his statement. And I'm saying to the commission that I think he confused this individual because he was present. And now you take his statement in 2025 in October. Obviously, his memory is not that, fresh as to what transpired. So he's going to listen to the policeman who's taking his statement. And I'm saying to the Commission, if you will allow me to get to the bottom of this, and I will furnish together with that previous request of yours, Mr. Baloy, I will get to the bottom of this to show the Commission that this can never be. And it will prove the recurring theme that I've been saying, that this investigation is orchestrated to point in the set. Put my neck on the block, this individual was there on the set. Came through with laborers, we did an unpack, and if my investigation diary says that we reseal it, we reseal it. So I will get in contact with the company, I'll get to the bottom of this, but I take serious issue. You can see the dates, what happened on the 21st, 24, there's nothing, but he talks. So I'm saying to you, he was confused when the statement was taken, and once again, it was taken with an objective in mind, and that's true. Somehow.
The point I know, I'm done with.
There's something I consider important. I want to tender an apology to Lofumla. I meant to challenge the notion that might descend to forcibly take perspective cane. In doing that, I made an unfortunate assertion. It meant that Umla's people, I will not go in what term. I should rather only have said, if the fear of forcible taking was sensible, even people from Isipingo could have descended on CHC and forcibly apologize. Are we now at the stage where yes. Colonel, thank you very much. You are
before the rest of us are housekeeping matter to address, and the first, it's about, the chair will recall that on Monday, the first General Zona put down testimony to Friday 5th, tomorrow. Yesterday, on the 3rd of June, we received a communication from his advising that General Sinona's counsel is indisposed, taken ill, and she would not be able to attend tomorrow. The request had been for the Commission to consider whether it could stand down Major General Sinona's testimony, as the letter states, to a later date in the week of the 8th of... the letter does make the point that General Sinona had been required to file his statement by the 2nd of June 2026, and it was done, and we as evidence confirmed the filing of the statement has been done. So what was outstanding was for him. If General Sinona appears tomorrow, it will only be after perhaps lunch, because we have another witness scheduled in the morning, and with the result that he will not fit. So he will have to come back on a later, possibly in that week of the 8th, to assure the commissioners that I happen to personally know the counsel that represents Major General Sinona, and I actually spoke to her on the phone. She had called me, and she did sound under the... She indicated that if the commission insists that that General Sinona be heard, she'll just push through to attend. But the request is to the extent that it postpones the general's testimony. The suggestion here is to any date in the week of the 8th, otherwise...
Thank you. The hearing of the evidence general is postponed to a date determined during the week of the 8th June.
Yes, or such later date as the commission will determine. Or
maybe let me just recall that. The hearing of the postponed to...
Secondly, insofar then as the rest are concerned, we're ready to resume at 9:30.
Let's adjourn and resume at 9:30.